Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 409. It's a very happy joy, not in terms of, well, actually in terms of the news too, but it's a very, very happy joy occasion for this particular show. It is the 7th anniversary of the Red Pill Nation Hangout. Yeah, god damn it. I didn't think yeah, man, I'm absolutely amazed that I've somehow managed to last 7 years at doing anything at all. I don't have anything remotely resembling a 7-year yet. I've never been married, so I wouldn't know what that's all about, but it is the 7th anniversary of the Red Pill Nation Hangout tonight, and that will be topic 0 for the show tonight, among other things. Just some news. It looked like it was only going to be one show this week, and then a whole bunch of stuff just came screaming out of nowhere in the next 48 hours, and I have to literally make it 2 shows, and I still don't think I got everything, but because my understanding is, although I saw the video today, the guy who the individual who had been swatting probably Tim Pool and the Quartering also got arrested yesterday, and I'm pretty much out of room on both 409 and 410. So yeah, we will be doing 409 tonight, and we will be doing 410 tomorrow. However, this will be the official 7th anniversary show of the Red Pill Nation Hangout. With me tonight, of course, is the guy who's been there at number 1 and still continues to drop in every once in a while. This is the last of his particular obligations for showing up. He's probably going to be dropping in from time to time, but he's going to be not around nearly as much. So, Rearson, introduce yourself. Good stuff, Roger.
Yeah.
Rearson, introduce yourself.
Hello, people of wherever you identify yourselves as. Yeah, 7 years ago.
The circle jerk with the aliens can stop now, and you can introduce yourself.
What the?
Okay, we'll have Roger. Have your audio issues have been fixed? Okay, yeah. Roger, we'll have you introduce yourself while Rearson gets his audio issues fixed. So, Roger, introduce yourself.
Hello. You can hear me, though, right? Right?
What is with the audio tonight?
I have no idea. Reardon can usually hear me, or he heard me a second ago, but now he can't hear me at all.
Oh, no, I heard you perfectly fine, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he just responded to me, no problem.
Okay, guys, say something on your microphones, because I'm not hearing either of you.
It's Naroki's thing.
I think Naroki's got a problem on his end at this point. I can hear you, Roger. You can hear me.
Oh.
Huh.
Naroki.
Plug this in.
Tell him to sign out and sign back in.
Maybe that might help.
Naroki's audio.
Oh, there we go. There now I can hear. Now I can hear you.
Yes.
Holy shit.
There we go.
Oh boy, what a way to start number 7. Okay. Sorry, 7th anniversary.
Okay, so yeah, what I had to do is that's weird how that works. Like sometimes when I plug it into the microphone, it It doesn't work. I can't hear anybody, and I can hear everybody just fine. And tonight, you guys were talking, and I couldn't hear anybody. So yeah, I had to plug directly into the laptop. So yeah, although the microphone is still plugged in, so you can hopefully you guys can still hear me. All right. So did you guys? So I will probably just edit this part out. So guys, reintroduce yourselves. Pearson.
All right. Well, I've been with this Joker right from the beginning of all of this, and never thought it'd be 7 years of doing this. But well, for me now, lately more off than on. But damn. Oh. For me, this is more of it being a hobby than an actual genuine, serious interest. I'm just too damn fucking lazy to actually put the work in. So, and I'm good with that. Roger, on to you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name's Roger Hanson. You can usually find me here on Skype with Naroki or running around doing my own thing. I'm also on Discord as Gaming with Infamous, so you can find me there if you want to. Other than that, I get on X and I post a bunch of shit. That's all I got.
Okay, for those of you who don't know, I am I'm just basically at Patreon as Naroki5. I am at my brain's just frying out right now. BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, and YouTube. I'm also at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, TLB and TLB Talks. This is like I said at the start. This is the 7-year anniversary of the Red Pill Nation. And with that, we will actually just get right into the anniversary stuff. I'm not gonna ask any Grierson to detail his favorite parts, his most favorite memory, because we all know what his favorite memory is. It's the constant talk about the GIMP suits and everything.
I want to hear what his favorite part is.
You stand.
Like his favorite part would be cool to hear too. Like, what's his favorite part?
Yeah. So my personal issue. I mean, again, I actually spent a good solid basically the first I got back into town, and I just vegged for about 3 days. I obviously needed those 3 days, but this is my signal to get up and start running again. Just oh yeah, by the way, just a quick reminder in case I forgot to mention it earlier. There's going to be another 410 is going to be tomorrow because there's just so much that happened this week. But yeah, I will just get into the topics here because I totally don't seem to be very much on the ball here tonight. So, topic 0, the 7th anniversary of the Red Pill Nation Hangout. Topic number 1, and this one is actually pretty fucking serious. Ukraine fires long-range missiles into Russia shortly after the Biden administration gives permission. And then, of course, there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened after that. Topic number 2, Trump hush money cases adjourned. Trump is no longer a felon, although apparently, again, of course, this is no surprise to mainstream media didn't say anything about it. Topic number 3, case against Andrew Tate, citing massive dismissed evidence. There was just like a ton of dismissed evidence that they but then again, that particular case had a few issues. Topic number 4, Hamas Riot in Montreal turns ugly Friday. Canadian government runs block for them. Oh my God, that was just disgusting. Yeah, that was just disgusting. Topic number 5, the Jussie Smollet conviction is overturned. And topic 6, Matt Gaetz removes himself as nominee for Attorney General. And like I said, there's going to be, I was going to do Wizards of the Coast and some of the corporate stuff tonight, but I bumped all of that to 410. I'm sure Rearson would have had some stuff to say about Wizards of the Coast. Oh my God, what a debacle that was. But that will be for tomorrow.
I'm waiting for Elon Musk to buy them next.
Oh, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for Elon. Elon, yeah. Elon Musk is apparently also in line by MSNBC and Disney, or at least, this is just my personal opinion. What he should do is that he should buy Lucasfilm from Disney, and then he should buy Warhammer from Amazon. He should set up his own studio and get about people who actually care about the lore for both of those series, and just embarrass. I think the best way to possibly embarrass Kathleen Kennedy and all the fucking stooges over at Lucasfilm would be to buy it, to have maybe a less expensive budget on Star Wars, and go out and just have hit after hit after hit after hit with Star Wars on a smaller budget, and just embarrass the living fuck out of Kathleen Kennedy. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, but yeah, let's just get into the topics here. I need to be a little all over the place tonight, but yeah, we will start out with the 7th anniversary of the Red Pill Nation Hangout.
Woohoo!
Wow.
It was supposed to be a little bit more exciting, but I'm not really good at doing like exciting voices. So
well, it's
Roger. You're so excited. You just
I'm just saying. It was like
okay.
I've never been good at that. So
okay, so the whole I remember when I first started this, I was like literally, and this is not a commercial plug for them, but I remember planning episode 1. I was sitting there. Actually, this Tim Hortons that I was sitting at is probably about a 15-20 minute walk away from where I live. And I was thinking about, I'll give it about 5 years, and if I'm still into it, and it turns out that I'm just going to keep going. So yeah, like the opening on all of the shows says, I'm going to be doing the show until I die or find something better to do. And I ain't found nothing better to do yet. So here I am. Episode highlight. Well, no, I won't do the highlights of the year or anything like that. But I have gone through. I did actually take a tally of all of the times that I have been canceled or run off. All right, it consists of 6 Facebook channels, 4 Reddit channels, 4 Twitter channels, and twice on YouTube. That is 16 times that I've had my social media cut off. Obviously, Twitter is not, or now X is not going to do any of that stuff, and it doesn't. I've had people report stuff on YouTube, but I only post the stuff up at YouTube just to post it up there because it makes it easier to post up elsewhere. It took me 6 of those 7 years for me to realize that YouTube is just simply not the route to go with something like this. Now, is it possible that YouTube is going to... Well, actually, YouTube, based on some of the stuff that's been happening lately, YouTube is going to find itself in a lot of trouble. Rumble Rumble is only about 10% of the size of YouTube right now. But if YouTube, and this is something that we'll be talking about on 410, this is gonna affect us as well. A lot of people and a lot of commercial sponsors and a lot of advertisers now, through a combination of what's happened with being exposed by journalists like Robbie Starbuck and James O'Keefe and whatever, and just simply having it clearly demonstrated in the last presidential election, I think people have realized that the woke crowd is not, despite being propped up by the media and by Hollywood, the woke crowd is no longer they're not the people in charge anymore. Basically, wokeism is brokeism. They're on the way. They appear, I'm going to say this very, very bluntly here, they appear to be on the way down. Now, I have to point out now from what I've been seeing going on here. I mean, again, a weird thing happens when you just keep posting up on all of the alt media channels. Your channel grows regardless of whatever the censors and whatever the pundits say. I mean, occasionally I will get somebody who will come on, for instance. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's the same person, because what will happen is that on Odyssey, on Rumble, on BitChute, on MGTOW TV, but obviously I seem to be left alone on Brighteon. But on those other four, every once in a while, you'll get somebody who comes on randomly out of the blue, will come in and downvote like 10 or 12 of my videos, and then the dude will never come back. And it's pretty obvious that they didn't watch the stuff. So I've got a couple of haters out there. To the hater, if by any chance you're listening, I have to say you're probably a very good chance that you are listening. Like, how many times have you heard that statement, I'm going to keep doing this until I die or find something better to do? Like, I mean, like shutting me down on YouTube. Go ahead. Do it, man. I see if I give a shit. So again, some of the really interesting moments that have occurred on this show. The interview with Mercedes Carrera, doing the last interview with Mercedes Carrera shortly before she went to jail, is definitely one of the more interesting factors. The whole covering, we were on doing a weekly show during the whole COVID situation and having to constantly deal with videos being taken down for misinformation or whatever. And, actually, I mean, I actually kind of like face palmed to actually think that I was actually somewhat concerned about that. Now, I've had some interesting haters. I've had 3 death threats since I started this show. And I have enjoyed calling out people. I mean, I haven't been doing a lot of independent content. I have just been sticking to the Red Pill Nation Hangout for most of the last year. There is some more, and it is going to be Manosphere and MGTOW content that I'm going to be doing for the most part. There is definitely going to probably be some more of that. You've also heard me mention on almost every show that at some point I'm going to get my ass on Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud, and I just never seem to find the time, or it just slips my mind. I don't know. Maybe at one point I will, maybe at one point I won't. But I mean, the biggest single thing is the interesting part about it. I mean, it's over a 7-year cycle. Almost every cell in your body has replaced itself. So every cell I have in my body almost has, like, I am now completely infused with the Red Pill Nation. And while they've definitely had, those are definitely some of the more interesting things. What really sticks out to me, and this is something that I was talking about on episode 400, is just the willingness to just stick with it no matter what. And there's the understanding that with everything, especially, I don't want to get too hyped up because, I mean, I actually saw a video from Stardust, aka Thinking Ape, who kind of brought me back to earth when it came to what was going on with Trump and what was won versus what wasn't won. And I have to keep that in mind. I mean, I've seen some very positive stuff over the past couple of weeks. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It's going to be a very interesting 2025, and of course, yeah, the first and last Sunday of 2024 is going to be a review of the year, and the first Sunday of 2025 is going to be a prediction episode for the look ahead to 2025. 2025 is going to be an interesting year. It is definitely going to be a year that you want to keep yourself up for. But this last year, yeah, it's almost been paint by numbers. I mean, I've had to move, and I mean, I've had to deal with some personalities in my personal life, which is away from here. But for the most part, it's been, when it comes to the online stuff, there has been, and I have actually been keeping track of it, there has been a continuous upward trend in the number of viewers on all of my alt platforms. I'm fully expecting that Brighteon, which is the last of the platforms that doesn't have 100 subs on it yet. Well, YouTube doesn't have 100 subs, but I really don't care about YouTube. Yeah, there is an upward projection on where I'm going, and I'm looking forward to next year. It's gonna be interesting, and that is both a blessing and a curse. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
I was just muting so I wouldn't have to say nothing.
Well, if you don't have anything to say, then don't say anything.
I mean, no, I'm okay with it. I didn't stick around here for like 7 years. I just remember the first time I met you. I did an interview with you and DDJ. And I think it was DDJ first. And then after that, it was you. You both showed up. And I knew I'd like you better than I would like DDJ because, like, I listened to his story and it was excruciatingly painful. You know what I mean? And like, you were always stepping in and helping him out with the interview and stuff. And then when you did your interview, it was a lot easier to handle. You know what I mean? So that's what got me to where I actually started coming on to your show and stuff because I actually enjoyed your interview. And from that point on, I got to know you better and everything. And it's pretty interesting. I don't get, or I'm not a part of the manosphere or anything. I just, I hang out with you, you know, and do the whole Red Pill Nation thing. I didn't even really know what the Red Pill Nation was until I met you. So it was a kind of a interesting ordeal. I'll tell you one thing, and I've said it a few times on your show, I've got a lot more respect for you than what I do all the other ones I've seen, because after I met you, I started checking out all these other ones, and I'll tell you what, you never catch me on their shows, but I'll come on here with you any day. You're a pretty good guy, so that's all I basically have to say.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest I come from the MGTOW faction of the Red Pill. I would strongly suggest if you haven't gone over Stardust, Spetsnaz, Coach Greg Adams. So little Spetsnaz is dead. Paul Proteus. Somebody needs to mute themselves.
If he doesn't stop acting like he's God.
Steve, you need to mute yourself.
Okay.
No,
thought
Gerson.
I was
Okay.
gonna say V's here, so
Yeah. So, there's some other people. Yeah, the Red Pill is not just the PUA guys. I mean, the PUA faction of the Manosphere is kind of tried to corner the market on the Red Pill. The Red Pill is a metaphor for information received that changes your outlook and makes you aware of options that you didn't have before. Now, I will cite something personal here before I get V's opinion on the 7th anniversary show. I did a sit down conversation with DDJ here about a month ago. It's actually been posted, and one of the things that has really, and this is what the Red Pill can do for you, is that you can challenge like literally any aspect or any belief that you have, and realize that, I mean, a lot of what you thought was important or what you thought was status is something that you just picked up from somewhere. And DDJ made a very good point, and that is that we as human beings, and specifically as men, we need to be redefining for ourselves what personal success means. You know, like, it's not the Andrew Tate it doesn't, well, some people it will be, but I mean, it's not the Andrew Tate live in a mansion and have 6,000 fucking Bugattis or whatever. And keep in mind, I don't have anything personal against Tate. It's not about being fucking roided and jacked up and ripped and have a fucking body of a god. It's none of that. It's having, for me, what it's come down to is getting to a place where I'm not at the whim of another human being, where somebody or something can just come out of the blue and potentially threaten to put me out on the street. And I came very close to ending up out on the street this year. And that's all I've got. That's what the Red Pill does. You suddenly realize, it's like, well, what was my definition of success? Is that my definition of success, or was that something that I just picked up from somewhere? That's all I got to say about it. So, V, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Hey guys, Roki, happy 7th. Wow, I mean 7. I think I started with you. Well, I didn't start with you. First time I got on your show, I think it was like 4 years ago, maybe 5. But
a while, yeah.
It's been a while, brother. I always enjoy these shows. You're the most sensible person I know, which says a lot. It was a crazy world, you know. And in this world, you got to study. You know, you gotta study the madness so you're not overcome by it. So that is just something that I admire about you and Rarison as well. The whole analytical. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, when I started my show, the Red Pill Hardcore, I was just going for a not necessarily literal matrix, but just the fact that the world isn't what it seems, and people need to, you know, research, need to, you know, study, because there's a double meaning to everything, and there's always a scam behind something. So, I didn't know anything about the manosphere aspect of the Red Pill, so yeah, I met you. Kind of same as with Roger there. And, well, I enjoy talking about men issues because I didn't know it was a thing. Sure, man, life is tough. Deal with it. That's all there was in my mind. But it's very freeing being on the show. And people can just take what we say, take it as something that needs to be considered or not. It's not about any hate. There needs to be no death threats, none of that. You take the message or don't. We're just people trying to get through this world. And with that, I can't wait to hear Rearson. Go ahead, Rearson. Take it away.
Get him, Rearson. Get him.
No, I'm not going to go very far with all of this. It's my apologies. I didn't know what to expect by jumping in with this with Naruki. And when he came down and we were talking in Eau Claire Market and proposed the idea, I was all over like flies on shit. White on rice, take your pick of whatever thing you want to go with. And I think it took us about a dozen shows and we kind of got into the groove of the routine that we're in now. Truth be told, I shudder at the idea of even listening to us right from the beginning. Now, for myself, I guess in terms of the whole red pill journey, and I'm still in, as Naruki has pointed out, I'm in my red pill rage at this point. I have issues with just female behavior overall in general. I mean, it's not helping that I'm in a marriage that I don't want to be in. And again, just waiting to land a suitable job. I've got a new place to live. And the gentleman I'll be moving in with, he's my son's godfather. And he, if there's someone that has a reason to be in the middle of the red pill rage, it's him. I mean, he ended up marrying a woman who ended up being his first, and he's not the nicest of guys, I will say that. I mean, he's 5. Honestly, he's a 5. Got a great heart though, but he's pretty bitter about her. I'm just, I guess I can just say that I'm just bitter overall with how female behavior is. I mean, it's an emotional, socio-sexual minefield that you have to walk through. And let's face it, you're pretty much blindfold unless you have an idea as to what you're doing. And your mental/emotional detector doesn't work, or doesn't work very well. And they expect you to be able to navigate all of her twists and turns and her mood swings and all of that other fun stuff. And you got to come out unscathed. So, what can I say? I've been the nice guy from it all, and whatever. It is what it is. But on the upside, though, I mean, I've been able to meet V, Roger, Angel, and I've had some fallouts with him. There was Jennifer that we've had on the show, DDJ. There was, I think we had TFM on the show once or twice. If I'm not mistaken.
We haven't had TFM. We've never had TFM. We had DDJ. Okay. We had that one guy. We had those two. We had that Australian guy.
Oh yeah.
And we haven't had him on in Mr. Harper. He hasn't been on in a coon's age. Mm-hmm. We've also had Nihilist. Who we had to find.
Oh, that was volatile. Wow.
Well, here's the thing about Nihilists.
Yeah, I apologize about that, by the way. I did not mean to cancel Nihilist. But hey, it happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing about Nihil. Nihilist has had some very interesting things to say. And I mean, I was still. There are definitely a couple of women out there who I could think of right at the top of my head that I would still be doing the MGTOW Master series, and I would be covering the bad thoughts, because there's definitely a few of them that have come up over the Rachel Zegler being right at the top of the list.
That woman can't help herself.
Oh yeah. That MGTOW Master series was actually something that was really good, and I would have loved to have kept that going. I'm not gonna say what happened between myself and him after the event, but I had to walk away. I just don't like being put in a position where I'm having to basically choose between one person or the other. But yeah, I mean, I do miss him, and I would really, if I could bring him back, I would bring him back just to do the MGTOW Master series again. But I mean, it is what it is. Emmanuel Barajas is also I still talk to him. I've decided not to ever bring him back on the show for obvious reasons. Yeah. We've had a few interesting people. We had one guy snort fucking coke during the middle of a show.
What the hell was that?
Oh, that was myself, Angel, and Angel brought on this guy, and he was like, literally, he wasn't muting himself, and he was like snorting coke.
Oh my God.
In the middle of the fucking show. It was like, oh,
Was I on
wow. Holy shit. Wow. Okay.
I don't remember if you were on or not.
He was going to take him under his wing and teach him a few of the ropes, is what he said. And he brought the dude on, and the dude was just freaking psycho. If that's
okay.
right.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. No.
That is insane.
Yeah. No. The dude had. I mean, yeah. We've had some very interesting moments, and we'll probably continue to have some more interesting moments. Yeah, for all of those people, and for the people who are going to eventually come on again, because I probably have to mention there's probably going to be a couple more individuals that are going to add, and maybe a couple will drop off or whatever. Keep coming back. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this until I die or find something better to do. And with that, we are going to actually move into the show. Happy 7th anniversary. Oh, yeah. Happy 7th anniversary, Red Pill Nation Hangout. And like I said at episode 400, I am going to be pushing myself on the show now to the point where I'm just basically able to make a living just doing this. And it's going to be, and it's going to happen on my schedule. It's not going to happen on some snarky SJW crooning in with some fucking snarky comment on YouTube saying you at the point where you get making a living on your own. It's like, yeah, no, not yet. I will. I'll get there, but not today. It's happening on my time, not yours. And with that, let's just get into the topics proper, because the first one is really kind of serious. Well, actually very serious if you stop and think about it. First thing you need to mute yourself. So let's just get into the topics. Yeah, I'm hearing some bumping or whatever. Okay, so let's get into the first topic here. Okay, first
breaking news.
topic.
I hope you guys are ready for World War III. This is unfolding and escalating as I make this video, so excuse the appearance in this one. Just when you thought Biden was done digging our grave, no, we're now at 8 feet. So Biden gave Ukraine the green light to launch missiles into Russia. And of course, what did Ukraine do? Just that, using US long-range missiles. We can all expect Russia to retaliate now worse than ever. And just dropping now, as I'm filming this, the UK is now expected to provide Ukraine with Storm Shadow missiles so they can strike inside Russia. This war is escalating and expanding as we speak, and the delusion runs deep if you think that this does not directly affect us here in the US and all around the world. That's war knocking on our doorstep, and you guys are worried about rights being taken away, mass deportations. You need to be worried about being drafted. These are the bigger issues that affect all of us. We need Trump in office like yesterday. I mean, 4 years ago would have been better, but at this point, I just hope we make it to inauguration. Well, good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Again, sorry about this, y'all. You guys know I like to take a little bit more pride in my appearance than this, but this story is developing literally as I film this video, and we're going to continue to follow it. So let me know how you feel about this in the comments down below. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.
This is the first ICBM used in the history of war. I'm sorry, in the history of this war. Oh, wait, any war? The view of the intercontinental ballistic missile used today by Russia with multiple re-entry warheads on a city in Ukraine. It's possibly the first use of an ICBM in the history of war. Take a look at this. It is a beautiful, and by the way, send this to everyone as an e-card for Thanksgiving. Send it to them as an e-card for Thanksgiving. Take a look. Can you play non-copyrighted holiday music while this happens?
Yeah, I'll put it up on YouTube.
Because I think it's about attitude, and I think it's about the way we present something. I don't think it's about the raw facts. I think it's all the way you look at it. Perspective is reality. Is there a way to make Russia firing an ICBM, can we make it feel jolly? Can we make it feel nice? Do we have to focus on the negative aspects of it? You know, I mean, listen, remember when they were running articles in New York Times going, you know, nuclear war has some benefits and maybe everybody should get over their fear of nuclear war. And we're going to pull that article up in a minute, but they're genuinely sick people who are saying, well, nuclear war maybe wouldn't be the worst thing. So here we're going to play a little non-copyrighted Christmas music. Ooh, I like that. Now get the ICBM up. Well, this is nice. Now it feels like the Christmas show. This doesn't scare me anymore. It feels like a light show for the holidays. Keep playing that missile. I like this missile. This is a holiday missile. This is not a bad missile at all. What if they did it and it lit up the sky with like Frosty the Snowman? It's all about the way you look at it, folks. Nuclear war is a good reset. I think people in this country have decided in small rooms or in forests or wherever they meet and talk that nuclear war is actually a nice reset. It might get rid of a few of you mouth breathers who keep complaining you don't have enough money for canned food. All right.
It feels like a significant escalation. Does the U.S. and the U.S. actually, and President Biden gave the blessing to Vladimir Zelensky to use these very big missiles a couple of days ago. Does that come with the guarantee that if Russia escalates, the U.S. is there to protect them?
Well, I think that this is a slew of questions that we do not yet have the answers to, Francine. And just to recap some of the news that we just got in the last few minutes, because this all feels fairly significant, is what we got from Vladimir Putin was signing into a decree allowing Russia to fire nuclear weapons in response to any kind of massive conventional attack on its soil. That would include drones. That would include presumably long-range missiles. That Russia would view aggression against itself or its allies by a non-nuclear state backed by other nuclear powers as a joint attack. In summary, basically saying that if there was an attack on Russia by a member of a coalition that will be seen as an attack by sort of the full coalition, i.e., even if it's a non-nuclear power aided by a nuclear power, that would be seen as a joint attack. This is something that Putin has been talking about signing into as a decree since September. This is officially happening now, and it comes, obviously, Francine, just on the heels of that sort of news that we got from Joe Biden, basically permitting the Ukrainians to begin using some of these ATACMS within Russian territory in the Kursk region, not sort of all across Russia, but within that region. They have a range of about 300 kilometers. And this is coming at a time right now when we understand, again, from Ukrainian news agencies, that those first missiles have been deployed. So what we are getting this morning in the last few minutes is Putin, on the one hand, signing a decree that says that any sort of coalition strike that is backed by a nuclear power, even if it's by Ukraine, non-nuclear, striking within Russia, could see a nuclear response. Again, again, that is why there has seen a huge move into the haven assets over the last few minutes. You can see it on the sort of German bonds have been being bought up. You see the euro moving, you see gold moving, you see everything moving, because there's a lot of uncertainty as to what this means. Again, when we think about the possible red lines in Ukraine and when they are drawn, this sort of goes back to what we've been hearing from Olaf Scholz, who has been much more reticent, for one, to support any of these strikes within Russia, presumably to try to avoid a situation that could escalate severely.
But Ali, on these ATACMS, I mean, again, as you said, they're American-made Army tactical missile systems. There's these supersonic guided missiles. Will we know what they've hit this morning and what this means in terms of escalation? Or is the market just, before they find out, they just want to get out of risky assets?
I think that that's what you have to assume, that people want to get out of risky assets. When you hear sort of a Russian nuclear response in the same breath as a strike, within Russia by some of these U.S.-made weapons, that you're going to get a lot of fear within the market, right? And this is exactly the kind of thing that Olaf Scholz has been talking about at the G20 when he was asked, basically, will you follow Joe Biden? Will you begin to deliver your own long-range missiles, the Taurus system that has an even further range than these U.S. ATACMS? Will you be able to deliver those? Will you begin to deliver those to Ukraine? He said, no, absolutely not. My position is unchanged. And that comes after he is really the only G7 leader to have had any contact with Vladimir Putin. They just had a call this Friday and basically saying that Putin had not really changed his position on anything. And he's, of course, also, fighting his own election within Germany, where some of the Germans are really very concerned about possible escalation. And many of the voters here, particularly on the far right and the far left, which are doing very, very well here, want to see less involvement in Ukraine, not more involvement. So this is a story that obviously has huge ripple effects within domestic politics across Europe. But as you can see this morning across the markets, with catching a bid here from the German bonds and across really the whole sort of haven complex right now.
Now you're watching stateside, and Ukraine fires first barrage of U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia, Kremlin says. President Biden gave Ukraine permission to use the weapons on Russian soil. Now Moscow says Ukrainian forces have taken advantage of President Biden's green light and launched 6 U.S.-made ATACMS into Russian territory Tuesday. Russia says it shot down 5 of the missiles and damaged the 6th. It added that debris landed in the area of a Russian military facility, but that no casualties or damage beyond a small fire. Fox confirmed the attack with a U.S. official. Now, Ukraine did not immediately confirm the use of ATACMS on Tuesday, but officials did announce an attack on a military facility in Russia's Bryansk region, the same region where Moscow says the missiles fell. The attack came just 2 days after President Biden approved Ukraine to use American long-range missiles on Russian soil, an escalation that Russian President Putin previously indicated would be an act of war. Now, according to a senior U.S. official, Biden's decision was spurred by the Russian decision to invite 10,000 North Korean soldiers into the fight against Ukraine and Kursk. A second official told Fox that it is unclear if Biden plans to approve the use of the missiles outside the Kursk region. The announcement came after Great Britain and France authorized Ukraine to launch Storm Shadow missile strikes, according to French outlet Le Figaro. Putin has previously said that giving Ukraine the green light on missile would effectively mean that the U.S. and NATO are in the war.
Well, on the decision of the United States to allow Ukrainian regime to use missiles up to 300 kilometers long, we read what the New York Times published about this. There are still no confirmation either from the White House or from the Pentagon, but we basically take our position on the basis of what is going on physically. And physically, ATACMS, apparently not as long as 300 kilometers, are being used, including this early morning in Russia, against the Bryansk Oblast of Russia, which is bordering Ukraine. And we proceed from the understanding that this is happening, and that any modification of ATACMS cannot be used without American experts and instructors, including satellite data, including programming and targeting. The president mentioned this several times. If long-range missiles are going to be applied from Ukraine into Russian territory, it will also mean that they are operated by American experts, military experts. And we will be taking this as a qualitatively new phase of the Western war against Russia, and we'll react accordingly. We are strongly in favor of doing everything not to allow nuclear war to happen. It was us who first, during the Soviet Union times, suggested to the United States, and President Gorbachev and President Reagan made a joint statement that nuclear war can never be won and never must be started. The same statement we reconfirmed in January 2021 in the format of P5. All P5 confirmed this. When the Ukrainian war against Russia by the West started, quite a number of politicians in the West were assuming that there might be a nuclear element in this war. Liz Truss, who was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, when she was asked whether she would be ready to press the red button, she said, yes, this is Prime Minister's obligation and duty. People in Germany, the Chief of Staff of the German Army, was quoted as saying that Russia must understand that NATO is a nuclear alliance. In France, Macron and his officials repeatedly were mentioning this. And of course, many other European politicians. We never started this conversation. And the update of the military doctrine does not add anything which the West wouldn't know, and does not add anything which would be different, let me put it this way, from the American doctrinal documents on what to do with nuclear weapons. We are convinced that the nuclear weapon is first and foremost a weapon to constrain any, prevent any nuclear war. This is how we handle this situation.
And this was done, and it absolutely, everybody has concluded that this particular event was done specifically to try to, it was done specifically to try and force World War III, or to force Trump to have to go to war. Over the course, I think it was just before the election or whatever, the American government shipped over some ICBMs, not nuclear tipped ICBMs, but basically sent over what are basically like long range missiles that can fire deep into Russian territory. And I hope when Trump gets into office that one of the first things he does is he pulls an investigation on this to find out which member of the foreign which one of the generals or which one of the people in Department of Commerce or whatever who sent those missiles over and told Zelensky that he could use them. That individual needs to be named. That individual needs to be put on trial, and that individual needs to be fucking thrown in jail. And if he's a military person, he needs to either go to fucking Guantanamo or Leavenworth, and he needs to fucking rot there for the rest of his life. Whoever's idea it was to do this, that person could have potentially killed every fucking person on the planet. And yeah, if I'm sounding angry about this, it's because I fucking am. Okay? I think both Steve and actually all four of us here remember the Cold War. Remember the big nuclear scares that occurred. Remember hearing stories in the press and the media about how Russia and the USSR and the USA had enough nuclear warheads between their two arsenals to kill every person on the goddamn planet 40 times over. I mean, that nuclear arsenal didn't disappear. I had somebody at one point say, well, 90% of the Russian arsenal doesn't work anymore anyway. And it's like, oh, God, to quote Rierson, because Rierson was the one who came up with the perfect response to that. Oh, okay. So everybody dies 4 times over, not 40. That was a beautiful response that Rierson gave. So whoever this person was, and I'm not going to get into all of the
Naroki, not sure what's going on. You kind of dropped off
Yeah,
with your sound.
I think that's what I was wondering. He went quiet.
He must
Yeah,
be
from the action.
Must be spazzing out so much that it's caused electromagnetic interference. I don't know.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, we can. You're good.
Okay, sorry. Where did I cut out?
You cut out during the part where you got all fidgety and moving around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably because I'm a little bit angry about this. Sorry.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, like I can remember, like again, like it's like I'm going to actually find, because it is actually on YouTube. There's a documentary done by a Canadian. Actually, I believe she actually lives in Vancouver too, of all places. She did a documentary called If You Love This Planet, and it came out in the early 80s, and it fully demonstrated what would happen if a full-scale nuclear war happened. And Biden and most of the people around him, even if they're in their 40s, these people grew up during the fucking Cold War. Unless they're in a completely delusional bubble, and there's a lot of people in government that are like that, they're aware, and I've had to explain this to younger people, because like the whole thing about nuclear war is kind of like faded off into the background, although it probably really shouldn't. Like these are people who should fucking know better, right? Like, you don't gamble on the human fucking race because you don't like Orange Man. And like, there's like, I mean, I have to go. I can't remember which. I think it was one of at least a couple of the mainstream publications basically just stopped short of saying that we were in World War III. Now, what happened is that when the missiles were fired, the Russians fired missiles back. They made a statement. Diplomats are currently fixing the problem. Everybody who needs to know is aware, but I'm surprised at how many people are not aware. But I mean, between the lines, because Putin fired these missiles back into the Ukraine, between the lines, Putin was saying, like, the next ones are going to be fucking nuclear armed. Yeah. The individual inside the U.S. or individuals inside the U.S. government that told Zelensky that it was okay to start firing these missiles into Russia, and that Zelensky just went along with it. I mean, yeah, I got nothing else. Like, I mean, last thing I'm going to say about this before I turn it over to somebody else is, I'm going to find that If You Love This Planet, I'm going to be sharing that at MGTOW TV and Brighteon and BitChute and Odyssey and Rumble. I'm going to make sure that as many people see that as humanly possible. Because, nuclear war, everybody dies, and there was a book written back in 1985 called War Day. It was written by one of the person who was also the Whitley Strieber, who was the alien abduction guy, about what would happen in a limited nuclear war, and even that is not particularly pleasant either. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
When it comes to Russia, my favorite book is Metro 2033. Now that right there is something that people need to really take a look at over in that region, because it's not.
I love the game.
Yeah, the game is it was inspired off of it, but it left a lot of the storyline from the books out, and that's the one thing I disagree with on the game. It's a good game, but like they didn't put the actual characters' backgrounds into it, So, and if you read the book, or the books, they've got a couple of them, I believe, but it's pretty crazy, and I think that's what's going to happen here. Freaking, we don't get Biden out of office, because that strike is just pure and simple a political movement. That's all he did. The Democrats have lost all branches of the freaking government, including the freaking Supreme Court, which is now conservative ran. They don't have any hold on Congress whatsoever. They don't have the White House, so they're basically in trouble for the next 4 years, possibly 8 years. And it's a clear message what's going on there. The voters voted these people out, and they're on their downhill. If they don't change their ways, it's over. And this is kind of like their last ditch attempt at trying to escalate a war, so that whenever Trump comes into office, he's going to be bogged down by freaking war that's taking place in other countries that he's going to have to be responsible for once he gets into office. That's a classic move that both parties have been guilty of doing. And the last time something like that I can remember, which was significant, was back with Africa, whenever with Black Hawk Down. You guys remember that movie? That escalated into some pretty serious shit, because freaking they put the ships on the shore, freaking waiting for the next president to come into office, just so that freaking it would set him up for an experience that was going to lead into an escalating. Well, it wasn't a war, but it was an escalation of aggression, I guess you could say. If you guys haven't watched Black Hawk Down, you'll know. You should check it out, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. And these are tactics that they've been using for years, each party. This is the dirty part about politics that nobody wants to talk about. So, I'm glad that you brought that up. It's actually something that does need to be brought up. It's just like when the first time Trump won office, I was telling people, that freaking Obama thought that the presidency was going to be won. There was no doubt in his mind. He was actually making plans to send like 10,000 troops over to Ukraine to defend the borders before Trump ever made it into office. So I know that this whole thing was planned well in advance. This goes all the way back to Obama with Ukraine. And I honestly believe that the whole deal starts over the Democrats wanting to get Ukraine into the EU, and into NATO, and all of those alphabet organizations that are over there in Europe. And the whole war itself, in my opinion, was started because the EU and NATO and the United States got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. You know what I mean? They were negotiating under or behind closed doors on bringing Ukraine into these organizations, and they knew that Russia was never going to agree with that. You know what I mean? And that, in my opinion, is what caused all of that problems. But it even goes deeper than that, because now these people are using it as a proxy war so that they can make money off of it, and they can use this government as a puppet, basically, to fight a war that they can't fight themselves. And if it keeps going the way it is, where we're freaking sending over these weapons instead of taking care of our own country, it's going to eventually lead us into a World War III. So that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, well, a lot's been going on with that. I mean, North Korea has sent. I agree with your sentiments, but by the way, to add on to it, North Korea has sent 13,000 soldiers over to Russia. They're, I don't know who's doing the intel work on this, but apparently they're trying to look like or pretend to be a sect, a different Russian ethnicity. They're so close to China. They kind of blend in certain areas, right? So there's some that kind of look Asian, and so they're passing them off as those people, and 13,000 people. I mean, those soldiers. I actually, tell you the truth, it's really a good move, because North Korea has a hard time feeding their soldiers. They have food shortage issues, like always. So the Russians are a little bit peeved having to babysit. But more in line with the topic, the missiles. I think that was just to, give problems to the next administration. Trump has already sat down with Putin and has warned him, which, is pretty vague information from what I was trying to get at, searching for information. But they had a good rapport. Okay? Trump and Putin supposedly had a good rapport. And now it's soured. Everybody was hating on Trump because he was actually doing his job as a president and trying to broker some peace. America is the war machine. Okay, that's our number one industry. It makes us the most money year after year after year since our inception. Okay, so we want to act like we're the world police, but really, I mean, what Biden did with those missiles, I mean, come on, that's peanuts in comparison to what others have done. His predecessors have done for him. So it's par for the course. I mean, I don't know. I'm not so worried about Biden. I want to see what Trump can do. Because at this point, I think if Trump is given enough information, enough leeway, I think he will chop some heads this time. And that's what I want to see. I want to see some heads roll. Roll them. Downhill. Capitol Hill. That's where that came from, right? Kaput. Chop someone's head off. Capitol Hill. Yeah. Anyways, Rooster, go ahead.
Thank God, that was a horrible joke.
Man, that's not even dad joke quality. That's how bad that is.
No, he's terrible, but I try to make him like factual. You know, history, whatever. I'm just a dork. Whatever.
No, I mean, you don't usually do that. That was horrible, dude. You threw me off in shock.
We haven't hit that point yet, but you know this favorite saying, we're not there yet. Well, we'll see how it takes. All right. I'm actually not worried about this. Like this whole fear of World War III and everything else along those lines, I don't see it happening. I mean, there's a difference, but the principle to me is the same. When Trump unloaded those older missiles on that one military base in Russia, Crimea, I think it was, I can't remember. Enough time was given in advance to vacate, grab all the valuable things, computers, ammo, your vehicles, whatever, and get the hell out. And the runway to that military base that was Russian was damaged. That's all that I'm going to say. I don't know. I don't remember to what extent. And nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. I'm of the opinion that the whole thing with Ukraine has been. Gotta get this fucking place. Anyway, I'm of the opinion that the whole war with Ukraine was put on hold until Trump was out of office, because if that had started while he was in office, would have complicated things a whole lot more than what we're seeing now. And I don't see this escalating to the point where Russia is going to retaliate. And I'll still focus on Ukrainian targets rather than foreign. So it's all that is going to do is just set off a powder keg. And at the end of the day as well, too, folks, let's not forget that it's the deep state that wants to go into war, because that's what they're all about. More death, more misery, more suffering, more of an excuse to clamp down and bring in the New World Order and all that fun shit that, if you're listening to this, you're probably at least somewhat aware. And that being said, I mean, realistically, honestly, all that Russia has to do is just bide their time for the next 30 fucking days or 60 days, whatever the amount of days is between now and January 20th. And to me, it's a non-issue. It just requires patience. And you just have to outlast the other guy. I mean, Obama, while he was in office, he ended up invading 7 countries. I'd say that's 7 declarations of war. And yet, ironically, not so ironically, the cocksucker, Big Mike, was given the Nobel Peace Prize like within the first 3 to 4 months of being in office, and the fucker didn't do a damn thing. So, yeah, I'm not worried. I really am not. I was listening to one gentleman, David Creighton, on YouTube, and he was saying the whole thing about, we're inching closer to World War III. I'm kind of, no, we're not, dude. We're not. But can I say with absolute certainty it's not going to happen? Nope, I can't. I wish I could, but I just don't. I don't worry if you're going to. Just out of the phrase, smoke him if you got him. If you're going to worry, then worry. I'm not. There's so much more happening. There's so much more going on. And this, just like everything else that we're seeing and what we're going through, and as the saying goes, when you're running through hell, keep running. Don't let this distract you. And I've been thinking about this today as well, too. At the end of it all, even if it does happen, I can't stop this. None of us can stop this from happening. It's totally and completely in Russia's, that ball is in Putin's court. And I think all he's going to do is just hold on to that ball and let the game time out until there's a change of management, shall we say. So I'm not worried. I really am not. So my apologies for rambling on. Murky, all yours.
Okay, yeah, I think Putin knows what's going on as well, which is why this disappeared out of the news as quickly as it did. Yeah, I didn't think this was going to happen, but I will be it will be straight up here. The individuals who still did this were not just, to do it just because you don't like Trump and to try to kickstart a global war just to hamstring Trump. That is a criminal offense. And I didn't think it was going to be. I knew diplomats were going to. I know the diplomats are talking, and I'm pretty sure that this time, because, Trump is not going to get another term after this one. I think he's probably speaking to Putin via back channels already. I'm given that Trump, who wrote the book The Art of the Deal, has probably already swung some type of a deal with Putin to make sure that the individuals who pulled this shit off are going to either end up going to trial, or they're just going to their positions are going to be conveniently revealed to the Russians, and the Russians will just simply take them out. That's kind of my gut feeling on it. One of the two. Again, you don't potentially, because we have no idea what's going to happen on the Russian side. Putin's not stupid. But, you have no idea what. There's other people in Russia besides Putin. That's all I'm going to say on this one. So let's move on to the next one here.
Fox News alert now and some developments in the hush money case of Donald Trump in a New York City courtroom. The New York judge, Juan Merchan, has granted Trump permission to file a motion to dismiss that case. He's already said that he was going to delay sentencing for a little while. He says now that he is going to delay sentencing even further. How long this goes on is anybody's guess at this point. Obviously, the judge is going to consider this motion to dismiss. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, agreed that Trump's attorneys should have an opportunity to file a motion to dismiss, to be considered by Judge Merchan. But here's the thing, is that Bragg and his office are willing, if Judge Merchan does not grant the motion to dismiss, Bragg and his office are willing to wait until January 20th, 2029 to resume this case. They said that they're willing to put it on hold for more than 4 years and then start it all back up again when Trump leaves office. That is, by any stretch of the imagination, unprecedented in American judicial history. So very soon, we don't know when Trump's attorneys will file this motion to dismiss, but we should hear very soon. And then we'll get Judge Merchan's decision on it after who knows how long.
From this case, not only that, the judge's daughter, Lauren Merchan, is the president of a political advocacy group called Authentic Campaigns, whose clients include the Biden-Harris campaign. Just so you understand, the judge's daughter makes millions of dollars working on campaigns against Donald Trump. Here's the website. On the website, it claims the company raised $562 million. This is a major financial incentive by the judge to convict Donald Trump. Not only that, the judge's wife worked for New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Epoch Times reported that they had reviewed records that show the wife, Laura Merchan, worked for 21 years as special assistant to the Attorney General, including 3 years under Letitia James. She changed jobs 2 years ago. That means the wife worked for Letitia James during the period that Letitia James was building her case against Donald Trump. Is it just me, or does this seem like corruption to anyone else? This is insane. I have never seen a judge more compromised than this judge. His wife is working against Donald Trump. His daughter is making millions of dollars campaigning against Donald Trump. This is the exact type of situation where a judge needs to recuse himself because he cannot possibly be impartial. When Trump's lawyers asked the judge to recuse himself, he refused, and he said that his daughter and his personal donations to Joe Biden did not require him to step aside. So the judge says that he's not biased, but his actions say otherwise. The judge has issued a sweeping gag order on Donald Trump. This is blatantly unconstitutional. Trump.
Okay, this one is, oh, by the way, I moved topic 6 to topic 3 just because it kind of connects to Trump, just so that you know. All right, so Matt Gaetz is topic number 3. Okay, so the Trump hush money case has been adjourned. The New York District Attorney's Office had 3 or 4 days to bring another case open. I don't think they will. The same thing kind of happened with Andrew Tate. The conviction has been thrown out. Not that it really wouldn't have mattered because Trump would have won on appeal. And again, this is another situation where, I mean, this judge refused, and of course, you know, leftists get really pissed off when I point out the fact that the judge in this case refused to recuse himself, even though both his wife and his daughter were both financially benefiting from the prosecution of Trump. So this would not have held up on appeal. He was going to get sentenced. And by the way, had Trump lost the election, they absolutely would have probably would have thrown him in jail. They actually pushed really hard before the election to have the sentencing occur before the election. You know, obviously that's not going to happen anymore. The judge in this case, I'm not going to go. I don't know the exact details. His daughter works on a PAC, a Democrat PAC that has put out a lot of that works for the Democrats. That by itself is a conflict of interest. His wife has worked directly with the Democrat Party before, and then this guy just simply refused to recuse himself. If this judge is lucky, and I don't think he will be, because Trump ain't fucking around anymore. If you look at some of the moves that Trump is making, Jack Smith, to absolutely nobody's surprise, has suddenly decided to take a job out of the country. He is now working out of The Hague. It's not really going to matter. Word has it that, Jack Smith might want to move to a country where he can't be extradited, because Jack Smith is in a lot of trouble. The people who worked under Jack Smith on this are also in a lot of trouble. The judge on this particular case, because I mean that's been the big thing. Oh well, we elected a convicted felon to the White House. Well, he's not a convicted felon anymore. Sorry, that case has been dismissed. It's like, oh, well, Trump did it to us. It's like, no, I mean, the case would have been tossed out on appeal anyway. And the Supreme Court would have heard the case because a former president was involved. And even if it had gone up past the state Supreme Court up to the Supreme Court would have heard it, and the Supreme Court would have basically thrown it out. So there's he's not a convicted felon anymore. As although strangely enough, the spurging out when it came to Andrew Tate was actually more visible. Again, you notice that the mainstream media kind of let this particular event, they didn't bother to report this event. But of course, again, the mainstream media, and again, we'll be covering this on 410. The mainstream media just doesn't have the pull that it has anymore, which is why you're starting to see advertisers who maybe were potentially worried about what would happen if BlackRock sold off their controlling stock or whatever. They're not afraid of that anymore. So you're starting to see you're starting to see stuff like this happen all over the place. I have to point out, just like with Andrew Tate, I am not specifically on Team Trump, which is why I'm going to bring up, and maybe it's a good thing that Angel's not here tonight, because he might actually have something to say about this. A MGTOW Manosphere content producer by the name of Thinking Ape, who used to go by the name of Stardust, kind of brought me a little bit more down to earth about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a little bit different. He talks a little differently. He walks a little bit differently. And he is allegedly, he's the other wing of the same bird. So to quote Sam Tripoli, you're basically seeing a different crime family take over in the White House. Donald Trump is still a plutocrat. Donald Trump is still a elitist corporate guy. And I mean, yeah, he has faced a lot of struggles in the last 4 years. And maybe just like with JFK, those struggles have maybe humbled him to a great degree. So maybe he's not as egotistical anymore. But I mean, yeah, he's definitely not on team. He's definitely not Team Blue anymore. And I'm just one major point here. Like, the four people that get associated with Trump most frequently are Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy, and Elon Musk. Now, I'm just going to point this out to you because this also would apply to me if I was living in the U.S. All four of those guys used to be Democrats. All four of them. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Everybody wants to bring those guys up. Let's talk about some other people that freaking Donald Trump is associated with. Let's bring up Giuliani. Let's bring up Hillary Clinton. Let's talk about how many donations he gave both parties during freaking the time that he lived in New York, and he helped them out with projects and stuff of that nature. I'm not a big Trump fan either, but it's just the one thing I can say about him is, like, he's not really a Republican. I mean, he's kind of one of those offshoots that, he started the birther movement, for goodness sake. You know what I mean? It's like, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that was he's the one that started the whole thing about Obama's freaking actual where he was born and if he was actually an American citizen, things of that nature. So he's always been kind of like that fringe group, and a lot of people they like to call them alt conservatives, I guess, alternative conservatives, whatever. But that's even being demonized now. Everybody's like turning them, vilifying them is what I should be saying, making it out like they're bad people, and they're not. They just think differently. You know what I mean? They don't agree with the freaking Federal Reserve. They think that fiat money is what's destroying the freaking economy, things of that nature, which I agree with a lot of that stuff, there's I don't go according to the whole Tea Party standards now, and the reason why I don't do that is because they do a lot of things that are kind of suspicious, like that whole "Don't Tread on Me" trademark that they have. That was actually started by the Marxists back when they started their movements in the early 1900s, and I believe it even goes farther back than that, but I'm not for sure. But that's one of them, and then they like to call themselves libertarians, and they aren't libertarians, they're extremists that are more in line with radicals, but with a more conservative look at it, like today's woke movement and liberals and stuff like that. That would be more of a radical than what it would be of a libertarian or the classical liberals who believed in small government. They also believed in the constitutional governments and things of that nature. The things that founded the United States. That's classical liberalism. So when I'm saying the classical liberalism, I'm not talking about a bunch of hippies smoking pot and freaking singing, kumbaya and all that good shit, I'm talking about real liberal values of what started the United States and created the Constitution. So that's the thing that I wanted to, mention whenever you was talking about stuff like that, because Donald Trump, I think he's kind of like an oddball. You know what I mean? I don't think he's Republican. I don't think he's Democrat. I know he's had a pretty soft life. His life has always been around money. And hopefully, like you said, if things went right, he kind of got an eye opener with the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, about what's really going on in the real world, and maybe it woke him up. I'm hoping that's what happens, but again, I'm hearing, bad news coming down the pipeline when it comes to Elon Musk and Trump and what they're saying, the first thing I said he needed to do was get into the Oval Office, and he needed to start signing pardons, and the first one that he needs to sign is the pardon for himself. And after he's done with the pardons, he needs to start setting up investigations into the actions and the things that have been taking place against him. And that's my personal feeling, because these people are out to kill him. They're out to freaking put him in prison or in the poorhouse. And it doesn't matter which one. They're going to do one of those three, if not all of them. So when you're in a situation where these people are targeting you, and you can clearly see it by just watching TV that's what's happening. But if they're targeting you, then it's about freaking taking action, not saying, well, I'm going to overlook the past, because that's what he did the last time. And because he did that, after he promised to lock her up, he didn't lock her up, and then all of a sudden all this shit happened after he left office. So if he doesn't take care of those issues now and do it before he leaves office, then it's all on him. You know what I mean? That's all on him. But he better not be throwing those freaking attitudes like he did the last time. Well, we got to worry about the country and move forward. That's a load of shit. Okay, that's a load of shit. These people are corrupt, and they kill people. They tried to kill him, and they've probably tried to kill a few other people before him, and probably killed some people as well. They're not those type of. They're not politicians that sit around, trying to just make good laws. They're very corrupt and dirty. I was mentioning it before when he was running the first election about Hillary Clinton and the dealings that Hillary and her husband freaking had in Arkansas before that. There's a lot of dirty things that took place down there that people don't want to even look at now. These are not good people. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass.
Yeah, well, I hope Trump knows that he can never drive in a convertible ever again. All right. I want to start with a bad joke this time instead of ending with a bad joke.
You went there. You went there.
Yeah, you can't top that one. That's about the worst joke I've heard you ever say, dude. So anything you say now is good.
Okay.
It's all uphill from here.
I can't bomb any harder than that, huh? All right. Well, yeah, I mean, what can I say? I used to warn people before Trump got into office the first time. It's like, I was like, this guy, he's gonna be something. And then, you've got this cult of personality. There's so many people on the Trump bandwagon, and it's just a cult of personality. I warn people about it. Boom! Next thing you know, he's disrupting the New World Order plans and all that jazz. And I'm Team Trump. So I hope. I mean, you guys have said everything already, pretty much. I don't have too much more to add. Yeah, I just want to see heads roll. That's it. It's so much corruption. Trump has the chance to be the greatest because he claims to be the greatest, and he wants to be the greatest. And well, I don't think he's scared of anybody. There's nobody on the planet that's going to scare him out of being who he is. So let's, hope he doesn't hold back this time and get some stuff done. Yeah. All right, Wilson. It's on you, brother.
Alrighty. Well, if anybody can tell me the last time that someone was going to be going to prison for getting caught dealing with hush money, I'd love to know when that last was done, at least with a politician anyway. Because this is not the first time that this has happened. And, excuse me, what Naroki forgot to mention or can add to that with Marchand is that Marchand has donated extensively enough to the Democrat Party. Now, I've brought this up with a former friend, and if I remember correctly, he more or less dismissed it, didn't say that it really mattered or whatever the case may be, but it wouldn't matter how much truth from a certain point of view you could bring to the argument with him, he'll dismiss it pretty much 90% of the time. I miss the guy, but I don't miss him that much. He's happy being where he is, and I'm not going to bother to wake him up anyway. And I do believe that there was a Supreme Court case that was the SCOTUS case that was in regards to all of this, and wasn't this one, it was one of the other ones, where his constitutional rights were violated. And if they've done it once with the lawfare that was going on against him, guess what, folks? They can do it again. And either way, he was I believe that he actually said it as well too. It's like, look, folks, if they can do it to me, they can do it to you. And if that shouldn't scare the crap out of anybody with half a brain, well, sorry, someone who's got 3 working brain cells, because Lord knows there's too many people with 2 working brain cells, and they're in competition with each other for being in charge. Oh my God. Sorry. I'll be right back. Fucking hell.
So yeah, looks like we're on to topic number 3 here. All right, this one's really interesting because of all of the appointments. Oh, sorry, I was just about to start topic 3. Go ahead, finish up.
Yeah, no, just had to tell the background noise to stop being background noise I can hear through my headset. Anyway, this whole thing is nothing but revenge, and I'm of the opinion that things are going to be made a lot more clear as to what's really been going on. So I think that we're going to go into that soon enough with one of the. It's not tonight's one of tonight's topics. It's one of tomorrow's topics, which is the whole thing about Diddy and all the celebrities they were leaving, that are jumping ship.
I'm going to point out something about this. I'm going to just run this by the 3 of you right now. Because I keep putting Diddy off of the RPN because of how we have something about Ellen DeGeneres jumping ship. There might be a little bit of conversation about Diddy. Do you guys want to do a specific episode, just like how we had to do something on Epstein? Just do a specific episode on Diddy, because, man, that rabbit hole runs deep.
That's incredibly deep. I'm up for it. I'd certainly come onto the show for that one, but we'll have to wait until things with Diddy are actually released.
Well, there's enough stuff. There's enough stuff just for a topic already. I mean, if Trump does, because Trump is actually allegedly on the record saying he's going to release both the Epstein and the Diddy lists. I'm going to.
And you wonder why missiles were fired into Russia.
Oh, well, I mean, the whole Hollywood thing. I mean, I've been kind of tiptoeing around it. Because it's a big topic that if I added it in with the normal number of topics that we have, we'd be here for like 4 or 5 hours. And I think we have to do a particular episode on Hollywood and Diddy all by itself, because that is a huge freaking rabbit hole. Let me know. It'll have to wait until after I go back out to camp before we can do it. But I mean, yeah, I'd be up for that. But yeah, I'll let you know. Continue, Rearson.
Yeah.
Totally down. Go ahead.
Yeah. The other thing, too, though, was that the way that Trump had played their game. I mean, he, in a sense, made fun of them. Like, he got into their confidence. He played the political game, the fundraising for both sides of the political aisle. Like, he played them like a fucking fiddle. And everything was fine. No one had anything bad to say about Trump until he went down the escalator. Then shit hit the fan against him. So to say that they had it out for him is, well, being rather polite, but that's just my opinion. What the fuck do I know? So in terms of him having to not push hard enough, I believe that he once had admitted he didn't know how bad it was, even within his party or within the bureaucracy, as to how awful, how involved it was. The whole apparatus, the political apparatus, was involved with the deep state. I mean, I just read something today that shit probably got ramped up during Bush Sr.'s days, where he was pushing for blackmail material. So, and Bush Sr. is on record for saying If they knew what we were doing, we'd get lynched and run out of town. Just wait, folks. Just fucking wait. It's going to be a mess. So, for me, as I said, for me, at the end of the day, this whole thing really was a case of it being a kangaroo court case. And again, if they can do that to Trump, they can do that to anybody. So it cannot be any more intense with what's my opinion and what I've heard, and pardon me for repeating this from the alt media and for alt tech, whatever. But they had to lose in 2020 to let people see what was going to happen to the U.S. with Canada and wherever else. Now that the results from the U.S. from November 5th are what they are, and until he gets in, until he completes his term, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very fucking interesting. And I don't have much more to say there, my friend. So now you can go ahead with number 3.
Okay, yep. So number 3. All right.
Have a
so
family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo.
false.
Matthew Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration, without having been Senate confirmed. Goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together, and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law, and I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
Matt Gaetz just suddenly up and decided to remove himself as nominee for Attorney General. Now, this was an interesting because, I mean, Matt Gaetz, I have seen some congressional testimony about him. Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan both. In fact, I just saw Jim Jordan, like, dress down the FEMA director over the fact that one of, probably come from a senior employee, sent out a text telling FEMA employees to not send aid to any Trump supporter homes. Yeah, he was dressing down the FEMA director. Matt Gaetz, I've seen him a couple times. He is really, especially with Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, he has really ripped into him a few times. Now, he did step down from his congressional seat to go for the attorney general spot. So, I mean, this mysterious turnaround doesn't, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, keep in mind getting Matt Gaetz in as the attorney general would have been a very difficult sell, especially since you had probably about 3 or 4 senators, Republican senators, and probably about 5 or 6 Republicans in the House saying that they would publicly oppose Gaetz being nominated. Gaetz's story about it is that, I mean, his belief is that, I mean, you have to be ready to go after the individual that Trump needs to deal with, like, day one. And Matt Gaetz said he didn't really feel up to the test. But here's the really weird part about it, and this is some of the speculation that I've been seeing on it. Matt Gaetz is going to be just fine. Even if he gave up his seat, he'll win it in a re-election. That's no problem. That Trump brought in to replace Matt Gaetz as Attorney General doesn't necessarily have the political baggage, but she has worked both extensively with both Ron DeSantis and Trump, and with several other people that are currently sitting in the cabinet. And she is actually, man, she's also pretty decent looking for a female government official. But that's neither here nor there. One of the speculations on this is that, and this is something that Trump has done in the past. Like, you might remember when we in Trump's first term, about how he leaked about how he might possibly nuke hurricanes to stop them, and about how that story got leaked out, and how the mainstream media, the effing stooges that they are, tried to run with it. And that shortly after those stories got released, there were probably about 3 or 4 people in his on the White House staff that got their walking papers. So one of the suspicions here, and I mean, Matt Gaetz is a shrewd political player, and he probably is getting some type of a payback for doing this. One of the weird things about Matt Gaetz is that Matt Gaetz stepping aside, though, has revealed to Trump whom he needs to be targeting in both the House and the Senate. Basically, what's happened is that the rhinos in the Republican Party, the remaining rhinos in the Republican Party, have revealed themselves. And those are the individuals that are probably going to be on the way out at some point. Those are the individuals that are probably going to get targeted for primaries when it comes up for an election. Like, they're going to be there because, because the Democrat Party basically has gotten its crap together in terms of electing people now. Trump is, I'm finding out stuff about Trump as I go along, and it's like, Trump will definitely be able to sit down and work out some type of a deal with Putin, for sure. There was a situation where, and I didn't know this until again, one of the former stooges that was actually a deep state plant on Trump's old first term leaked that Trump at one point was dealing with the head of the terrorist organization in Afghanistan. And what he did is he said, he handed this guy a picture of all of his residences that he lived in Afghanistan. And he says he basically went and said to him, it's like, yeah, if you kill so much, if you harm the hair of so much of another American soldier in Afghanistan, like, all of these places are going to be basically droned. Like you're gonna be we will move the end. We'll move mountains to kill you. And curiously enough, after that happened, not a single American soldier got harmed in Afghanistan after that. Coincidence? So yeah, Trump is definitely ruthless. He's definitely capable of playing 4D chess or 3D chess with his opponents. So that's part of it. Gaetz is going to be fine. I personally would have thought that Gaetz would have made a hell of a district attorney, an attorney general. But apparently, the woman that he got to replace him is even more of a firebrand than he is, without the political baggage. So, yeah, I'm surprised, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. You know, I'm pretty sure Trump has mapped out what he's going to be doing over the next 6 months to a year. And again, right, certain individuals, Jack Smith, for instance, probably will not ever be able to run far enough to get away from him. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
All right. Yeah. Sorry I had to step away. I had some issues I had to take care of real quick. The whole thing with Gaetz, man, is I can agree with the reasoning for why he stepped away from his nomination and everything, because, you know, for one thing, getting him into that position is going to be a big task for the Republican Party when it comes to, or even just the executive office, as to push in the amount of money that's going to go in to get him into that position, because he'd have to be interviewed and everything like what they would do if you were becoming a Supreme Court justice. And with the stuff that's going on against him, I think that he did the right thing, you know, is backing down on the position and letting somebody else go for the nominee, because it's a good thing. I'm neither here or there on that whole thing about his sexual misconduct or anything of that nature, because it's like I said to somebody before, when it comes to a lot of things that are going on in politics right now, I couldn't tell you if it's true or if it isn't true. It's just, that's how crazy all this stuff is. And there has been a lot of people in politics who have been involved with stuff concerning sex that's been overlooked or not even looked at all. You know, here in Illinois, our state actually got in trouble because they had a freaking slush fund, I guess you could call it. Not even a slush fund. It was just a fund that was set up so that if politicians got in trouble for sexual harassment, or if it was any kind of sexual offense, they could actually get legal help through this fund. And it was brought up, and that's here in the state of Illinois. I mean, I've had conversations with people about Illinois and how crooked it is, and it leans towards the left, you know. So that's the thing that's going on in politics. So I really can't tell you, in my personal opinion, if he actually did it or not, but I can tell you that he made a good decision when it came to, you know, backing off and letting somebody else take the position. So that's all I got.
V?
Yeah, I thought he would have made a hell of an attorney general. I've seen this guy grill so many people about their crap. I'm disappointed. Quite frankly, I was actually getting very, very, very excited and getting ready to be on that C-SPAN channel on YouTube, but it's not happening. I don't know. if for these guys that are, I mean, he had some sort of sexual allegation issues, and it's just gonna drop out. Good Lord, how powerful men are pulled down to the dirt by the penises. I guess all great men, it's just sort of a thing, I guess. Yeah. Whoever's going to replace him, I'm definitely going to check out, see what they do, and yeah, maybe we'll talk about it. But I'm definitely looking forward to the dating stuff. So you got me riled up about that. But anyways, I don't have much to add to this one either. So, Urson, if you would please.
That was a better joke, by the way.
Thank you. I think I will. Alrighty. This kind of falls into the category of games that Trump plays. Well, it's not just him. I mean, looking back, and I'll bring this up again with the antics. I guess that's probably the best way to say it. What was happening at the time with Attorney General Jeff Sessions? I mean, Trump was raking the guy over the coals over this and that, the other thing. He couldn't do his job, and he was a failure. And why the hell did you make this decision? And at the end of it, at the end of his tenure, he gave a short but glowing thank you for your great service to this country, or something to that effect. So my take is that you can't read too much into it, because we have no fucking clue what's going on. No idea what's going through Trump's head. What they're doing with any of this, really. I mean, honestly, I have no clue. Excuse me. So it could very well be that maybe Gaetz is going to be out of public office for a little bit, or he's out of public office and this is his method to step down and go into something else that could be far more, I'll say, insidious, but not to work against what Trump's administration will be, but to be an attack capacity, I suppose is the best way to say it, for something else that has to be done. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So I'm not reading all that much into it at this point. And currently, as well, is that there are going to be people that are going to be nominated that are going to step down for reasons A, B, C, or D. I don't know. So again, I'm not worried, and I'm not putting all that much effort into all of this at this point right now, because this is all preliminary anyway. There are the necessary steps and procedures, protocols that have to follow through with this dog and pony show. We don't have anything like this typically happen up here in Canada. If there's going to be the person that's going to be in charge of the military, I think that there's going to be some sort of parliamentary procedure for all of that, or whoever the candidate will be. But I think at the end of it all, it just comes down to the Prime Minister just kind of saying, yeah, sure, stamp, sure. You've got the job for I don't know how it's determined. So all I can say is don't read too much into this one right now. Something else is coming down the pipe. Lord knows what it's going to be, because I sure as fuck don't know. So, Rocky, back to you.
Yeah, I have to throw this one in.
just a really clever political play. Yeah, lots of guys have been brought down because of their penis. Again, that's part of the reason why a lot of guys, and specifically in the MGTOW's faction of the Manosphere, continuously say control your fucking sexuality. And yeah, guys out there who are listening to this, the technology and the tools to do that are there. It's more of a transformation rather than a control of the sexuality, but it is humanly possible to do that. But with that, let's go on to the next topic, which is, oh yes, Andrew
Good morning.
Tate.
Bust case. Remember everyone has said he's a human trafficker, he's a human trafficker. I just bust my case. So it turns out that I was telling the truth all along. The highest court in Romania, the appeal court, has just ruled that the evidence collected against me is illegal. Here I have a long list of all the illegal elements. Emma Gabby's statement is illegal. Christiana Bourne's statement is illegal. Aliona Ontilla's statement is illegal. The seizure of all the money they took is illegal, based on procedural violations and constitutional decisions. We need to remove all the WhatsApp conversations which were falsely translated, illegal. The whole case is illegal. Every single thing in that fucking file was a lie. And the women lied, and it was all bullshit. I get all of my things back, everything. And all of it gets sent back to DCAW. There is now a formality where DCAW have 5 days to mend the file. But how can you fix a file where everything in it is a fucking lie? Witness statements made against Andrew and Tristan Tate were deemed inadmissible. These pieces of evidence and any reference to them in the prosecution file must be deleted, requested by the court immediately. I'm reading it now, they have nothing left. The whole file is fucking wrecked. It's gonna go back to DCAW for 5 days. They're gonna move some papers around, I guess. Or they're gonna come bust in my door and fucking arrest me again because they have to try and fix this file somehow. Or it all gets thrown out. 691 days, 3 years as American citizens, while the democratically run American embassy refused to help us. Refused to help us. They didn't have fucking any interest. We'll take a look, maybe. Trump comes into office and instantly the Romanian courts say, the file's made up, throw it away. Funny how the Trump effect works globally. Funny how J6 wasn't just a domestic problem. Anyone talking large online, anyone helping Donald Trump call a case in any fucking country they lived in. I wake up this morning and they say, it's all made up, throw it away. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, I could be angry. I could be bitter. But I'm not. Truthfully, my brother and I have been on one hell of an adventure, and we've been closer through this than we've ever been. And perhaps that's why God allowed it to happen to us, so that him and I can be closer than ever before, because that's what brotherhood's all about. We got to go to jail. We did a lot of dancing. You know? It was fine. And I knew the case was illegal. But just imagine being me. I'm filming this right now. Imagine being me. You just wake up after 3 years. I've been to court 100 times. And finally one of the courts go, yeah, it's made up. I'm flabbergasted. So of course it's fucking made up. Unbelievable. So it goes back to DCAW. Just so you guys understand the Romanian system. It goes back to DCAW. They have 5 days to fix the file. They hit me with a second file to arrest me 1 month before the election to try and stop me from talking big, helping Donald Trump. That file's made up too. So I'm hoping this is a domino effect. This one gets sent back, made up. Second file gets sent back, made up. I'm gonna be free pretty fucking soon. Wow.
Okay, so just, some people basically slept this off to the Trump effect. And by the way, the reason why I had to kind of follow this is because, what literally happens in the Manosphere, what happened, because I honestly I knew who he was, and I would see a short done by him every once in a while. that, but I mean, I kind of knew who he was, but I wasn't particularly close. But when he got arrested at the end of 2020, it was the end of 2022. Yeah, it was the end of 2022. You had the usual bout of fucking soy boys and feminists and whatever, and obviously people who don't know very much about the manosphere and about the politics and the relation between the various factions inside the manosphere. But there was a whole group of them that came running out onto the MGTOW site and said, ha ha ha, your hero's in jail now. And it's sort of like, I'm going to say this right from the start. Andrew Tate has been fairly antagonistic towards the concept of MGTOW from the start. There are, just like Kevin Samuels as well, who was somewhat kind of hostile and antagonistic towards. Basically, Andrew Tate falls into the PUA category of the manosphere for the most part. He has been kind of antagonistic and kind of negative and almost dismissive of MGTOW from the start. He is not particularly well loved inside the manosphere. He's got a lot of respect, and one of the things I have noticed about Tate versus, for instance, Rollo Tomasi or Fresh and Fit or Donovan Sharp or some of the other guys that I don't know all of them because I don't pay attention too much to the PUA faction of the manosphere to know who all the goddamn creators are over there, because we're not all one big happy. The one thing that I have noticed about Tate versus literally every other PUA in that space is that Tate, besides also being the most recognized name in the manosphere, although he was never the biggest name in the manosphere, was that Tate, and this is something that's been pointed, and I gotta point out, this is something that's been pointed out by more than a few MGTOWs. Tate was the only guy in the PUA manosphere, PUA faction in the manosphere, who was actively talking about encouraging men to get off the grid. You know, Tate was the one guy who would freely, and he wasn't shy about it either, would freely and willingly venture into areas not directly connected to PUA and would give his opinion on those. Curiously enough, a lot of those opinions mirrored what MGTOW were saying. He had his own obvious take about it. He was also loud. He was also brash. He's also definitely a bit of a hustler. He's not as smart as he likes to think he is. I think, for instance, if he was that smart, then he probably should have basically had those two women that initially accused him of that accused him of the case that he's currently dealing with. He would have been able to do a background check on those two girls, and he had the money to do it, and he would have found out that one of those girls was a serial accuser. And one of the rules, at least with MGTOW, is that if you do a background check and there's more than one, hold on a second. My throat's getting all scratchy. If there's more than one case of where she's filed more than one complaint against somebody, like, one is like, yeah, okay, stuff happens. Two is like, okay, you know what? Statistically that it could happen, but you know, the chances of it drop off significantly, despite what feminists say about toxic masculinity. Three is at even if a woman literally has had 3, which I think is phenomenally rare, but a woman who's had 3 is either a false accuser or somebody who has very fucking poor decision skills. So this one woman had 7, including one of them who actually killed himself over the accusation. And Tate would have found that out, and he would have gotten rid of her immediately. Tate, though, was the one guy in PUA, and because he was loud and because he was brash and because he would do stuff like, for instance, the age of consent in some countries in Eastern Europe is lower than it is in the West. And he wasn't putting 2 and 2 together and understanding that, yes, this woman in this country is legal, but in the West, it's not legal. Therefore, if you bang some girl who's like 15 or 16 and it's legal in that country, it is still illegal. Well, actually, 16 is the age of consent, but I digress, right? It's illegal in the West, and that's what they're going to jump on. And then to openly brag about stuff like that, it's like, yeah, he had a hard time keeping his mouth shut. And he had a hard time understanding that it's like perceptions and so on and so forth. And he's a bit of a braggart. Not just a bit of a braggart, he is a large braggart. And it's like, and he doesn't check the women that enter his space carefully enough. So this particular situation that happened to him was the second of 2 that had occurred. Now, this particular case, and I'm going to say this again, this particular case started falling apart the moment he should have had a lawyer on standby immediately on this, because Rollo Tomasi and all of the other major content creators actually have lawyers on standby, right? Who specifically know how to deal with situations like this. Andrew Tate apparently didn't. It wasn't until he got a lawyer like that and they started revealing, and they started understanding that, yes, in the West there's a rape shield law, but in Romania there is no rape shield law. So when these women made this accusation in Romania, their records and their actions can be put up on public display, and there's really nothing that any Western government can do about it. In particular, I think it's the British government that's really been pushing hard to go after him. And that whole case fell apart, really started falling apart very, very quickly when he got this lawyer on. And of course, as it went along, the case started getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Showing the video of the 2 women that had accused him freely leaving his mansion with money and coming back to the mansion unescorted too, by the way, coming back with a whole bunch of goods. They went out shopping. Having them file this report, and then of course immediately, literally the next day after the file report, fly off, but not fly to a psychiatrist or to go back home and be comforted by their family because they were being terribly held against their will. Both of them flew off to the French Riviera for a week, which suggests that they were possibly paid off. The fact of the matter is that and it was, of course, also the fact that the woman who took the story and actually the psychologist actually interviewed them for the case barely spoke English, and the 2 girls, the 2 women, didn't speak a word of Romanian, so there was a lot of mistranslations going on there. There was some texts that were taken off Snapchat that were not interpreted properly. So, there was a whole series of things about this case that it just kept getting weaker and weaker and weaker, which is, by the way, why the British government is now attempting to extradite him back to Britain, where they're able to maybe use the rape shield law and control the law and whatever. But what effectively happened is that the Romanian government finally had no choice, because it was they went into court for probably was what the 100th time or something, the 70th time or whatever, and they went in and they read the case off, and it was like, and just like, there's, to quote Andrew Tate on this, there was like literally nothing left, almost nothing left in the file after they were done. Like almost everything got tossed. And of course, Tate himself was like saying, yeah, somebody in Great Britain was pushing really hard on this, and, you know, you just had to keep pushing on it until the whole house of cards came down. Now, of course, when this happened, all of the people who got a massive stick up their ass. In fact, I was still dealing with one of these idiots, like, this morning, who kept doubling down on his own stupidity, right? Because, like, I saw the video where Andrew Tate is on his laptop and he's reading the legal case documents from the trial that he was on, and no, I ain't lying about this. 3 different people came at me, even though, by the way, this particular video I saw, he did this 40 seconds, and 3 particular people came in. Well, do you really know he was reading from the actual court cases? Oh, whoa, what page was he reading? But it's like, you know, it's like Tate is polarizing. He is. He alienates as many people as he actually brings in. He talks a big game. Yeah, sometimes he actually delivers too, though. That's the problem that a lot of people have. And yeah, he borrows a lot. And it's something that's why a lot of MGTOWs are kind of pissed off at him. Because he borrows a lot of MGTOW content whilst still slamming MGTOWs. Yeah, and there's also a lot of envy going on about Tate as well. Again, right, despite everything that I have just said about him, and I have to point this out because I've had arguments where I started getting into the nuts and bolts of the case, and because I was getting into the nuts and bolts of the case, because I was familiar with the case, by the way, and I'm familiar about the case because SJWs and feminists kept coming in and rubbing our faces in it about Tate, like as though stopping Tate was actually going to deflate the manosphere in any type of real significant matter. When Tate wasn't even... Tate's the most recognized name in the manosphere, but he was never the biggest name in the manosphere. This is something that a lot of people outside the manosphere don't even know about this. Like, getting Tate in jail, all that would have succeeded in doing is would have made a martyr out of him. And, you know, going after, and this is something that the manosphere is going to be dealing with in the next few months. They're going to be targeting the personalities in the manosphere as opposed to addressing the topics. That's one of the reasons why they were so focused on Tate, or Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan. Because if they focus on Tate and they focus on his bravado and they focus on his personality and they focus on what he's doing, they don't actually have to deal with the actual topics and the issues that are actually pervading the manosphere right now. They want you focused on Tate. They want you thinking about Tate. They don't want you thinking about child custody. They don't want you thinking about unfair divorces. They don't want you thinking about lifetime alimony or false accusations, or any of that stuff. They want you focused on the personalities, because if you're focused on the personalities, then the topics, the issues get ignored. But the only problem is that you're focused on the personalities and you get rid of one of the personalities, the issues don't go away, and somebody else just simply steps into their place. So, yeah. If Tate is not arrested by end of the business day today, if the police don't go in and rearrest him, then it is effectively the situation in Romania is over. Now, he's not out of the rhubarb yet because the British government is going to try to extradite him. But here's the issue that they're facing with an extradition. Tate's lawyers have figured out that the rape shield law does not apply in Britain. Sorry, it does not apply in Romania. And because it does not apply in Romania, and even though feminists had said they weren't going to weaponize it, that's exactly what they've tried to do. The moment the British government attempts to extradite Tate back to Britain, they have to make the names of the women that were accusing Tate of doing the things that he was doing. They have to make those names public. And because Romania does not have a rape shield law, that case also will, I've got a strong suspicion that case will also fall apart. Now, I'm going to have to re-emphasize this. Me being familiar with Andrew Tate's legal situation doesn't make me a fucking fan. It doesn't make me one of Tate's worshippers. I have to point that out bluntly. Anybody who tries to go there with me can fuck off. Again, right? The reason why I'm familiar with this is because assholes, male feminists or whatever, kept trying to ram Tate in the face of the manosphere after he was arrested. And I had to get familiar with it, especially after Destiny pulled off all the bullshit that he pulled off with about Tate. One other thing about Tate, and this is going to come up again at the start of the year. Tate, along with Trump, are both like somebody is going to attempt to take out Tate at some point. And again, right, all you're doing when you do that is you're creating a martyr. And no, again, right, Tate's a bit of a sleazebag. He's a hustler. And I actually have a word a term that I use for any discussion about the manosphere, because any discussion about the manosphere, Tate's name comes up. I literally call it Tate's Law. And what is Tate's Law? Tate's Law is that any discussion about the manosphere will invariably bring up Andrew Tate at some point, which is really weird because, again, Tate's not the biggest name in the manosphere. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
You said these feminist men forced something in his face.
Into your
face.
Yeah, no, they feminist men. When he got arrested, they came over to a lot of the manosphere groups and started going, "Ha ha ha! Your hero is now in jail," and it's like,
oh, okay. I was just curious because you said that something was being forced into your face, dude. I'm like, what the hell, dude? What's going on over there?
No. They were acting as though Tate being tossed in jail was some type of an own of the manosphere when it actually isn't. But continue.
Well, with a lot of that, I like to stay out of it because, for one thing, this is Romania we're talking about. This is like the capital of sex trafficking, so I don't really want to even touch that because, I mean, I couldn't tell you if it's true or not because of how much goes on in Romania, but, like, things that do stick out to me is the fact, like, this woman who made claims of him raping her, like, over 10 years ago, still had his text messages. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of like the dress that freaking even though I'm not a fan of Clinton, but like the dress that had the sperm on it, I guess it was, that was going on there. Why did you keep that dress for all those years, you know? Then another thing that really stuck out to me when I went through all that information was the fact that they started pushing this idea that he was throwing terms around like the Matrix and then making it out like he was some conspiracy theory freak, you know what I mean? That's kind of a red flag there when you hear stuff like that being said, because I don't know. I have no problem with conspiracy theories. I think some of them are politically motivated, and I don't really consider those to be conspiracy theories, to be honest with you. You know, I just consider those to be like propaganda, political propaganda that's in the disguise of conspiracy. But that's what I always notice whenever I hear people talking about that, when they bring that up. And from what I've heard about this guy, he's not really the greatest person in the world either. I'm not condoning him, because like he likes to flash a lot of his money around and stuff like that, and he's really outspoken when it comes to a lot of the things he does say, because he straight out talks like freaking Muslims do about women should respect their men and their men's property and shit like that. You know, I think that life was better back when women freaking took care of their families. Don't get me wrong, but I would never say that, you know, women are the property of their men. I think it's a mutual relationship, and they both have a role when it comes to the family function. And I think that's really what it comes down to with these people, is they want to get rid of this freaking family structure, you know, that you have a father, a husband, a wife, a mother, and then the children. I was thinking the other day, you know, back in the 80s and even into the early 90s, you know, the times when I was younger, you'd always see at 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And now you don't see that no more, and that's because there's no curfews that are put up for children to be in at night, you know. And that's pretty disturbing when you think about it, you know. Those are the kind of things that really stick out to me when it comes to family and stuff like that. But this isn't what this Andrew Tate's talking about, so I don't really enjoy even having a conversation about this guy, because he's not really the best of characters, you know. So with that, I'll just go ahead and pass.
V.
He's trying to think of something nice.
So I take it nobody here is the best of fans of Tate, of the Tate brothers.
Oh, okay. I'm not. I don't dislike him, but I don't like him either. Right? But I mean, I give him a nod of respect because he's a fairly large content creator, and he does actually say a lot of things that need to be said. But I mean, like, right, you know, just because, to quote Better Bachelor, right? Like, he does say a lot of things that need to be said in the manosphere. And at the same time, he's a bit of he's also a bit of a sleazebag and a hustler and a con man. And both of those things can be true at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you said that, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, because he's such a polarizing character. I mean, you either love him or hate him, but when you have that experience, when guys like us, yeah, he's sort of like a man. Yeah, you know, you could take him or leave him. Yeah, I agree. I got turned on to the Tate brothers because of some stuff I was saying on my show. Some caller called in and asked me if I knew who they were. I was like, no, I don't know who these guys are. And I tuned into an interview that Andrew Tate did, and he talked about how certain laws in society are made to keep men down, to keep them from fighting the government and all this other stuff. I was like, hey, I just literally just said this kind of stuff on my show tonight. So I mean, the guy will say some really awesome stuff, but at the same time, I mean that's why they're going after him to begin with. They don't care that he's a pimp. He's talking about freedom, freeing yourself, not having any mental prisons. Free thought. Damn about what anybody thinks. That's how I am. I will respect someone's opinion, but I'm not going to hang on it. I'm not. Someone has a bad opinion about me. Well, guess what? You can F off and don't let the door hit you on the way out. So that's sort of the kind of thing that I've had to deal with, especially what I've gone through with the corrupt government here, and the COINTELPRO 2.0. Since I've been back, I've still had to deal with a little bit of it myself again. But these are the kind of things he was passionate about. It wasn't just like truth or regurgitation or anything like that. He was passionate, and that's why they wanted to take him out. And now you got, these women that'll just say anything for some cash. They'll do anything for some cash. Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. Just send a woman towards your target, let him screw around, and boom, you got him. Because, men, unfortunately, we're simple like that. But I'm glad that they're making it through. I mean, I know when I heard those details about the women leaving and then coming back, certain feminists came to me and was all like, yeah, see, well, Tate probably has their passports and their IDs and their wallets and their family's information, and they don't want to leave because they're stuck in that way. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You're a woman. You're being held captive. You're going to run for your life to the nearest police station. Everything else be damned. So I had to sort of explain that. And I knew it was going to fall apart once I heard those details. So, good on those guys. Good on the Tate brothers. And with that, Rearson, you can go ahead, brother.
This has been one that I've only been following because it's an important one for Naroki, for example. For me, not so much. I don't mind Tate's content. I don't watch that much of it. And if I do see him or anything that's on there, it's only because he's he's part of a clip in a reaction video from someone, or it just happens to be in something that I'm watching. I don't follow him, period, actually. And excuse me. For me, he's not. By and large, I agree with what he has to say. Now, I don't worship the ground that he walks on. I'm more That's what I'm looking for here to say. When it comes to Tate, I don't care too much for him. I'm more enamored, shall we say, with watching Don. I'm more interested in taking things more at heart with alt media or conspiracy theories than I am with anything that Tate has to say. It's not to say he does everything important, but it's just never been. I heard his name before. I don't remember when it was first brought up. Probably with Naroki talking about Tate this or Tate that or whatever the case may be. And for me at the time, it was water on a duck's back. It's just, whatever. Didn't care. But in terms of again, just like what we were talking about, actually, this would have been perhaps a good segue to deal with the hush money scandal, cover up, whatever, corruption. It's, to me, this has been a travesty of justice if such a thing really exists anymore. That someone, much like what Naroki has said before about how he seems to have a few people that don't do a damn thing with his stuff for months on end, all of a sudden pop out of the woodwork, downgrade his videos even though they haven't seen anything, and off they go. It's not to that degree with what happened with Tate, certainly not in comparison. But, I mean, that was the saying. The nail that sticks out gets hammered back down, or something to that effect with the Japanese proverb, for example. So, the lengths that were attempted to nail Tate to the wall are incredibly underhanded, very sneaky. I would love to know who he's pissed off in England, but I mean, if they can't get him at this point, they can't get him at this point because it is what it is. So in that regard, I hope that things still continue and that he's able to flip them the bird, figuratively speaking, of course, by walking and winning. So I don't have anything more to say on this whole thing. It's interesting, and that's been interesting. Okay, back to you.
Yeah, this is, I kind of expected that this one was going to go a little bit long. Basically every single large I even think redonkulous Terrence Pappas had to deal with a little bit of this. You're going to start seeing a whole lot more of this. If Tate is not arrested by the end of the day today, and by the way, we might just mention something if he is arrested at some point today. In the next 24 hours, when we do 410 tomorrow, we might just mention something if that happens. But I mean, again, right, there is a group of, and it's just like, and we'll be talking about this with Ellen DeGeneres tomorrow. They're doing this. A lot of these individuals, these celebrities, are actually leaving the country, now that Trump has been elected, whereas back in 2016 they weren't. And the reason why they're leaving this time is because Trump is definitely on the record saying he's not fucking around this time, right? And celebrities are like, maybe it's time for me to just kind of up and quietly leave, I'm on Epstein's list. I'm on Diddy's list. I'm on both lists. I'm going to be in trouble if my name gets revealed. So I'm just going to quietly leave the country. Same thing applies here. Eventually, there's a really interesting story about Techno Viking, by the way, which I will get into in just a second. The individuals who have been orchestrating the stuff against Tate, and these individuals who have been basically, especially in particular in Britain, who have been basically trying to do everything they can to demonize the manosphere, those individuals, and again, right, it might not happen under the Labour government, but I mean, at some point, that Labour government is going to get voted out, and somebody else is going to come back in, and it just like with Britain, at some point, the globalists are not going. There's going to be a party in Britain that's going to get its shit together and is going to get rid of the globals, which is pretty much what appears to have happened with the Conservative Party in Canada, has happened with the Republicans, right? They've now got active parties going up against them. So, yeah, it's going to be... Tate is going to eventually find out who it was that's been orchestrating this stuff, and when they do, you keep poking a bear like Tate long enough, yeah. I do not fault Tate at all if he decides to start looking at lawsuits, possibly even criminal charges with some of these people. But that's enough on this one. I'm going to move on to the next topic here. This is a Canadian content, this is why I'm glad that Rearson is here tonight, because we have a second we have a second person from Canada on this. Now, Hamas has started, and they've only started doing this recently, although Hamas did try in the city that I live in Edmonton, they did try to block a road here, and they got seriously rebuffed. Sorry, Rearson, where was that street and where was that intersection in Calgary where they basically got almost like they literally got carried off the street in Calgary?
It looked like it was 4th Avenue and McLeod Trail. 4th Avenue coming into the city is a major point of entry. There's a flyover bridge, and McLeod Trail, it ends pretty much 1 or 2 more blocks north of that intersection. So it was a big one.
It looked like a big one. I'm not super familiar.
Oh, and I believe if it's McLeod Trail, it's going to be about 3. McLeod Trail goes by City Hall. So they were about 3 avenues north of City Hall. So to say that traffic was being backed up would probably be a nice way to put it.
Yeah, obviously it didn't work. But I mean, yeah, they've been doing this in Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal. So apparently the one in Montreal really got out of hand. Like, it really got out of hand. The videos that I saw them, they were like they were smashing windows, they're breaking into stores, whatever. Like, it turned from a quote unquote, and this is what the mainstream media was saying, an anti-NATO protest. That's the term that the mainstream media called it. The alt media called it out for exactly what it was: a bunch of thugs and goons running around downtown Montreal, causing a lot of trouble. The situation was so serious that, and this is not a lie, I'm actually going to have to find that post by Justin Trudeau, and I'm going to have to share it, because it was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it was one of those posts. Justin Trudeau literally tried to play the race card about this and accused a bunch of white supremacists and a bunch of far-right media for blowing this thing up for as large as it was. And of course, the mainstream media was also causing this, was also saying that this was an anti-NATO protest. But what it was just a bunch of thugs and goons rioting downtown, and they didn't want to say, yeah, no, a bunch of Hamas protesters were rioting downtown. They didn't want to say that. They didn't want to say that at all, because if they had said that, it would have been it would have been embarrassing. Of course, Trudeau definitely can't say that. Yeah, I'm actually looking for it here. Let me just find it here, because he posts everything. Oh, here it is. I'm going to copy the link and I'll want to post it up here. Oh, there we go. Copy link. Yeah, I'm gonna share the link. This is literally what he said. What we saw in the streets of Montreal was appalling. Acts of anti-Semitism, intimidation, violence must be condemned wherever we see them. The RCMP or communication with local police, there must be consequences and rioters held accountable. That whole thing. There were like literal that event in particular was. They were like literally calling for the overthrow of the Canadian government. It should also be pointed out, while this riot was gone, Justin Trudeau was busy partying it up at a Taylor Swift concert. Again, mostly peaceful. I'm posting up the link for it right now. The mainstream media is attempting to avoid mentioning the word Hamas. Apparently, from what I've seen on the mainstream media, they're attempting to avoid mentioning that they tried to overthrow the government. But again, right, Twitter doesn't have Trudeau's back. Elon Musk definitely does not have Trudeau's back. And they published, including this case of this one guy, like literally calling for the overthrow of the Canadian government. And they don't want the mainstream media is not portraying that. Disgusting. Polyev is going to have to probably, and he had better do this, or he's going to lose legitimacy really, really quickly. Polyev is probably going to have to use his supermajority and going to have to engage in the same type of mass deportations that Trump is probably going to be starting to engage in when he takes office. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
I mean, you had me busting up when you said that Trudeau was at that freaking concert. I was like, that's fucked up. I was like, when you said it, I was like, oh hell no, dude. So the thing with me, man, is I'm kind of controversial on this because, with our country, we had the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, or whatever the fuck that is, convention, where they were trying to find their who's going to run for president with Kamala. And I don't support the Democrats one bit, but it's like freaking they had this going on, and you would think if people were protesting, it would have been something that pertained to the United States. You know what I mean? Rather than freaking a bunch of people from Hamas or pro-Palestinian or whatever, which I've got my whole issue about that. They say they're pro-Palestinian. Well, Hamas isn't freaking Palestinian. You know what I mean? And people are so stupid today, they don't understand that a Palestinian and a member of Hamas are two totally different groups. But I'll leave that one alone and get on with what I'm trying to say. But here at this DNC here in the United States, we had people who were protesting about all of this stuff going on over in Israel, and freaking Kamala was being put in a position where she could run for president, and it was being done illegally. That wasn't even the bad thing that was about what it was about, but these people were also being shipped in by special interest groups from around the country. I found out that people freaking were being shipped in from freaking Pennsylvania all the way to this freaking DNC convention. People were all over the country. They were being shipped there, you know, and I found that interesting. But getting back to this thing going on in Quebec, I mean, really, to be honest with you, I say freaking let them kill each other, because I was sitting here checking it out on NATO, and this NATO meeting had to do with a bunch of freaking people who were there discussing freaking climate change regulations and shit like that, which is something else that freaking people should take notice in, but nobody wants to talk about that. They wanted to discuss supporting the Ukraine during their war efforts, climate change, and the future of the alliance. Now, what's this deal with the alliance? So are you having an alliance going on with Ukraine and all of these climate change regulations, you know? So for me, the best thing I can say is let those people go right on in there and start destroying shit and kill all these people that are at that freaking committee, because it would do the world a whole lot better if they did, you know? So that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your flow there, Roger. Short and sweet. Yeah, I'm finding it astonishing, breathtaking that Canadians have more balls than Americans right now. Bigger balls. Yeah, I mean, you may not have your guns up there, but they're still willing to go and join together and say, hey, we don't want this government. I mean, I know things have to get a lot worse before they can get better here in America, but I don't know. I'm glad that there's still people out there just won't take any crap. And that's all I have to say about your Canadian politics. Go ahead.
Rearson.
Sorry about that. I was just clicking on something and it took me out, so it was rather odd. All right. Yeah. God. 53, 54-year-old guy at a fucking concert. No, he is 54 now. That's right.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, he's old enough, and he's got no problem. Oh, God. Well, nothing about him is normal. That coming from me. But I'm going to post this in here as well as to what Polyev had tweeted about all of this, and it's pretty scathing. So for your reading pleasure, this is in direct response to. You act surprised. We are reaping what you've sowed. This is what happens when a prime minister spends 9 years pushing toxic woke identity politics, dividing and subdividing by people by race, gender, vaccine status, religion, region, age, wealth, etc. On top of driving people apart, you systematically break what used to bring us together, saying Canada is a, quote, and I remember this, a post-national state with no core identity. I'm going to add in there as well, too. I believe Trudeau put in that he was going to basically phase out white people. You erased our veterans and military, the famous 5, and even Terry Fox from our passport, to replace them with meaningless squirrels, snowflakes, and a drawing of yourself swimming as a boy. Oh, God. I have to take a look at that. You opened up the borders to terrorists and lawbreakers and called anyone who questioned it racist. You send out your MPs to say one thing in a mosque and the opposite in a synagogue, one thing in a mandir, and the opposite in a gurdwara. No fucking idea. Anyway, you've made Canada a playground for foreign interference. You've allowed Iran's IRGC terrorists to legally operate here for 4 years after they murdered 55 of our citizens in a major unprovoked attack. You passed laws that released rampant offenders from prison within 8 hours of their 80th arrest. And what's the result? Assassinations on Canadian soil, fire bombings of synagogues, extremist violence against mandirs and gurdwaras, over 100 churches burned or vandalized with barely any condemnation from you. All for a total of 251% more hate crime. And while you were dancing, Montreal was burning. We won't let you divide us anymore. Call an election now. We will fire you and reclaim our citizenship, our values, our lives, our freedom, and most of all, our country. I've had nothing good to say about this guy, not Polyev, but Trudeau. And the thought occurred to me as well. If the legend is true, I think what Trudeau needs to do for a part-time hobby now is to learn how to play the violin, because Lord knows that it's apparently what Nero did when Rome was burning, so I don't see it being any different to all the stupid shit going on now. It's fucking amazing. That's all I can say. But more and more stuff has to. The problem with Canadians is that it takes a lot to get us to do anything. I mean, the Freedom Convoy was. It was kind of the tipping point for us that we got pushed around a lot. And basically enough was enough. And again, the Unconstitutional Emergency Measures Act was brought in, and that hasn't settled down. Well, I guess it's in this. It started to come down to the final stages of it being worked on, or the lawfare that's going along with it, whatever the case may be. But now, I've drank the Kool-Aid, or I've taken the hopium, that this is all a movie. And I'm still of the opinion that Trudeau is not around, and that someone else he's been replaced. By what or who, I don't know. And if that's the case, and I hope it is, but if that's the case, then what's going on is that it's to wake people up to the stupidity, and not just to acknowledge that, yeah, Ottawa's corrupt, yeah, Trudeau's an idiot, or, can't trust him with anybody or anything. It's something a little bit more. And shit like this is going to keep continuing until people basically stand up and do something. So, I don't know. We'll see. I could be wrong. I fully acknowledge that. And, well, I'll leave it like that for now. So, Naroki, have fun with this one.
Anyway, yeah, I posted up Pierre Poilievre's reaction. I also posted up, and it's going to go on. It's going to go on the slideshow on 410. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Rachel Maddow had a fucking absolute spurg out over that photo.
Oh, I'm reading what you posted up here. What the fuck?
Oh, you mean the Destiny stuff? Yeah, that's disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose in a sense it's somewhat cannibalistic. self-cannibalism.
Well, I mean, what do you expect from a guy who let his fucking wife sleep with other guys? Right.
No, this is also the guy that Lauren Southern
Spider-Man.
was fucking for a bit.
I've already told you about Spider-Man in the closet. So
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the last topic for tonight here, because I think we're probably going to end up going a little over 3 hours here. Okay, so the last topic, and this one is an example of the corruption. And again, while I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach as to whether Trump actually cleans the swamp, Chicago, and I think Roger, when we get to Roger, I think Roger's probably going to have a lot more to say about this one than I will. Chicago badly needs a reboot. Of all, I mean, I'm not going to say it's as bad as San Francisco, but if you were going to put the 3 worst cities up right now in terms of wokeness, I think Chicago would be right up there with San Francisco. But again, we covered Jussie Smollet. In fact, 2019, Jussie Smollet was one of the topics we covered fairly extensively because it just dragged on and on and on and on and on. For those of you who don't remember, Jussie Smollett was allegedly mugged by 2 white guys in a neighborhood very similar to the one that I live in Edmonton, which is a NDP, New Democrat Party, enclave in a sea of blue. It's an island of orange in a sea of blue, basically. Well, the whole city of it, but I mean, federally, this particular riding that I live in has been NDP, while most of the rest of the province has basically gone conservative for a while now. But I mean, he got led by 2 guys wearing MAGA hats and tried to hang him at 3:00 in the morning outside of outside his place or outside Subway or whatever. And he tried to convince us all that this was a real thing. And of course, he went on national news and he convinced everybody. I think he was literally responsible indirectly for killing off an entire TV show with his actions, because there was an actual TV show that he was a member of, and all of the people on that Empire was the name of the show, was the name of it. He got caught, and what happened was that Kim Fox arranged some type of a sweetheart deal for Jussie Smollett at the time. And what ended up happening was and it was a sweetheart deal. Everybody knew it was a sweetheart deal. Kim Fox was actually, I think it was Michelle Obama who actually spoke to Kim Fox, and they pulled this off. And that would have been the end of it, except that Jussie Smollett could not keep his fucking mouth shut. And went around parading around. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not guilty. I didn't do it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well now we're going to take you to trial. He actually challenged it in court. He was found guilty. He was given time. He came back for sentencing, and he actually had to do a little bit of time. And then he had himself, he's a fairly well-off guy. He had himself a decent lawyer, and they got him kicked. They got him removed from prison. And it was put up for appeal, and we were waiting for the new trial, and we waited, and it never came. Well, the Supreme Court of Illinois decided that the deal that Kim Fox, I will mention this about Destiny at the end, because Destiny said something, Rusin, at the this week, which again I wanted to include, but there's just so many other topics that something said by some stunned, stupid, dishonest piece of shit leftist idiot like Destiny. I had to cut something, and it was him. The getting back to the Smollett conviction, Supreme Court said, well, you already had this deal in place, so we're going to honor the first deal, the one worked out by Kim Foxx. And the conviction with Jussie Smollett in the trial was overturned, and Jussie Smollett is basically convicted to time served, and the thing is done. Chicago is corrupt as fuck. Don't know. Well, I mean, of course, right in the midst of what's been going on, and this is something that I heard on a couple of on one particular YouTube channel. It's like with all the wins that we've been getting lately, we're bound to get an L in there somewhere, right? And this is the L. Smollett got away with it. Gonna point out, at least this time, Jussie Smollett was smart enough to keep his fucking mouth shut and not make it even worse for himself than he already almost did, because he almost ended up going to jail, and he almost ended up killing his career over this. He is going to eventually get back on television. He is going to eventually return to Hollywood. I don't think he will find Hollywood as warm and opening as warm or welcoming as it was back in 2019 or 2020. But yeah, Illinois and Chicago are corrupt as fuck. They've always been corrupt as fuck. The politics there are nasty, which explains Barack Obama and how he's acted, and how the governor has acted, and how everybody keeps acting out of Chicago. But with that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
When it comes to Chicago and San Francisco, you got to take into consideration there's two different functions for both of them. Like for gay people, San Francisco is like freaking monumental to them, because that's the first place where gay people actually went there. I mean, first, when they first started it, they actually made it to where it was legal to freaking be nude in the middle of the streets. So you had that kind of weird shit going on there in San Francisco. Now, when it comes to Chicago and Illinois is where all the dirty, corrupt shit can get taken care of. All right. The thing with Chicago, Illinois, period, they didn't understand how corrupt the Democratic Party was until they were busted back in the 60s for using dead people's freaking birth certificates for voting and shit like that. That's where all this voting corruption comes from. That's where it stems from. Like every time you hear people talking about it, it's just regurgitated bullshit from the 1960s because of something Chicago did, So that's where all that's coming from. Now, this whole thing with Chicago and what's going on there when it comes to these charges on this guy. I remember whenever they busted him, okay? And the thing that got me is like everybody in Illinois got pissed off at him. It wasn't just conservatives, it was also the Democrats, because this idiot freaking goes in running his mouth saying, this is mega country. This is mega country in the middle of freaking Chicago, dude. The second most freaking Democrat freaking place in the United States. Okay, this little freaking city, or not really a little city, but this city has more Democrat pool than freaking any other freaking city other than New York, and that's in the country, okay? I called it in the election the other day freaking as like the Democrats' secret weapon, okay? 30 minutes after the election's done, bam, Illinois belongs to the Democrats. There's no vote taking place. It doesn't matter what the percentages is, it's automatically Democrat. And a few of us were on there and got to see it firsthand because I've been saying that for a while. Okay. And this guy had the nerve in the middle of freaking Chicago to say, "Oh, I'm in MAGA country." He was so stupid he didn't realize where he was, you know. So, and the messed up part about it was too is now they're dropping the charges on that because they said that he shouldn't have been freaking brought up on the charges, retried on it after making the plea with the freaking prosecuting attorneys. But the thing of it is all of this stuff was actually brought up because of protests from the police department. The police department were freaking upset because it wasn't the fact that it was a fake, it wasn't a fake because it was fake. It was the fact that the police officers had to go out and put freaking effort into an investigation, and all the time and effort that was put into the investigation was freaking because this guy made these claims that were clearly not true, you know. That's the part that freaking gets me. It's like freaking this has nothing to do with the fact that what happened was freaking staged and it was fake. It had to do with the fact that the police had to actually go out and investigate this stuff. You know, sending police officers out to do a false investigation is also a crime. Okay, besides it being faked. So that's what he got busted with. It wasn't for the actual fact that what he had done was staged. It was because these police officers had to go out and do an investigation. And for them to say that, it's bullshit. You know what I mean? It's corrupt. The guy should have, his case should have never been overturned. And this is the kind of stuff that goes on in Illinois, you know. I find that stuff all the time happening here. That's why those people up in Chicago freaking don't come down here. You ask Dave Kelso, he knows better than come down here to Southern Illinois. We take care of business. You know, we don't mess around with all them hippies up there in Chicago. Find them in ditches. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know if I can follow that. Well, we complain on this show about how the females, they never get, reprimanded. They never get in any trouble when they do false claims of assaults or whatever, right? Because that always has to use police resources, rape kits. You gotta get people involved that don't want to be involved. You got people trying to collaborate stories. And it's just a huge freaking mess. And we condemn these females that do this, right? But here we have a Smollett. A tiny little Smollett. Little gay Smollett. And he wants to do this kind of stuff. I mean, come on. Where's the line? Where's it in? I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad that it's over. I don't know how many times we have to flush the toilet on this, but I don't know. I'm not invested in the guy. I've never watched any of this material, and I never will. So, I don't know. Are we due for another toilet flush?
Do it.
Flush
that damn thing.
I can't do that tonight.
All right,
man,
post production.
Shit, man, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I know.
At the time, I had a pretty good wireless headset, and it's just like, we're gonna flush this shit down the toilet. That's what we ended up doing.
I gotta agree with you though, too, V. I'm just so glad the shit's over. I said what I said, but it needs to be done. Just get that shit out of here,
Anyway,
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you there, V. Do you got anything else?
No. Go ahead.
No. Okay. Can't help but wonder if there's something else going on for them to do this. The only thing that pops in my head, again, I can't verify this, but the only thing that pops in my head as to why they would do this. Did he make some sort of a deal to testify with, against Petalwood or whatever? We'll let you out, but you're going to have to spill the beans. I mean, Kamala allegedly, apparently, is his cousin, or they're related. So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard and whatever hits. Am I right on this one? I have no idea. But that's just what popped in my head. I was like, no, that maybe it's this. We'll see. I don't know. I stopped giving a shit about this guy to begin with, like after the third flush, just fucking had it enough. So yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing more on this one. I'm done. And gentlemen, this is one of the few times that with all of us being on that we actually haven't hit the no standards. So I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised. Anyway,
especially V being here. I mean, God, what's wrong with you tonight, V?
Brother, we're not feeding off each other.
Everything.
Like nothing. We haven't done anything bad at all. Like, I guess we're all on good behavior.
Yep. So, that was
tough.
Sorry, I was mentioning something I was going to bring up at the end. I can't remember specifically what it was.
Destiny.
No.
Roger?
Yeah, Destiny.
Okay, here we go. I think this is where the stands are going to get thrown out.
Oh.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay, I was going to leave this off because we had so many other topics. Destiny went on a rant on an interview earlier this are we recording? Yeah, we are recording. Okay, yeah. He went on and he basically more or less said it's like Tim Pool, Tucker Carlson, several people should just have all their social media accounts shut down and whatnot. And it was sort of like, yeah, dude, like, you heard of the First Amendment, right? And this guy didn't, this particular guy who's doing the interview didn't challenge him on it. But I mean, Destiny, of course, was one of those idiots. And a lot of them did. Vaush did this as well. And a few others. They just basically went out into the open. And we will be discussing this more on the next show, but maybe not directly. But yeah, the more that gets revealed about Destiny, and the reason why I posted this up is that, I mean, like, that's
disgusting.
That is just disgusting.
Well,
but
sorry. Let me rephrase that. That whatever strange fantasies you guys may have with me and gimp suits.
Yeah, it's true.
No.
Well, yeah.
Come on, dude. Seriously, you think we're gonna believe you?
See, there we go. There's our no standards out the window.
Fuck, dude.
Well, I mean, the reason why I brought this up is, I mean, Rollo Tomasi pointed out that, I mean, this guy gets to go on Piers Morgan and Jack Murphy, who is a bit of a hypocrite and a massive cuck because he also lets his fucking wife screw other guys.
Mr. Purple Dildo? Okay.
Mr. Purple Dildo doesn't. And yeah, I'm never going to get the vision of that purple dildo out of my head ever.
Just the vision of it, or the dildo itself?
Well, I mean, at least he wasn't wearing a purple
Purple gimp suit.
A purple gimp suit to go with his purple dildo. There we go, folks.
Yep.
Standards.
I spoke
removed.
too soon.
Standards removed.
It's all your fault, Naroki. You're the one. Anyway, that's fine.
Anyway, oh my God, yeah. So, I mean, I had to post that, but we'll be discussing that a little bit more tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow for 410. Yeah, it was a busy one. My personal favorite is because Rachel Maddow, this one with Elon Musk trying not to buy, and the like Rachel Maddow had a full blown meltdown over this photo, which of course is why it's going up on the slideshow for 410. That is it for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. Oh, yes, and Techno Viking. Techno Viking actually launched a legal challenge against the guy who created the original video on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a very strange case because he benefited immensely from having that video made, strangely enough. Anyway, that is it for tonight, folks. Have a good one. I will see you all tomorrow at the same time, where we will, of course, try to have no standards at a much sooner time as opposed to at the end of the show.